Okay. All right. Thank you for tuning into the live show. It is your boy Genesis. Welcome to the live show. It is currently 11:12 a.m. and of course today's date is the 17th of July 2025. Yes, we are back for another episode. This is going to be interesting because we're going to check out what the OG, the 45th, now the 47th President of the United States did yesterday. He was with uh, another prime minister and he participated in a bilateral meeting with this prime minister and a crown prince of Bahrain. So that person that you see on probably the left side of your screen above me is the crown prince and the prime minister of Bahrain. And also after this, we're going to check out President Trump as he participates in a bill signing ceremony with families that have been affected by fentanyl. Okay. So we're going to check that out real fast. And don't forget, it doesn't matter if you're a Republican or a Democrat, does not matter. What matters is you are American. It is America first before party. Okay. You're not a Democrat first. You're not a Republican first. You are American first, then whatever party you support comes next. Okay. God is the greatest. God is the greatest. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. How are you this beautiful Thursday morning? How are you doing? I'm just sending you the love of God in your heart, and the peace of God shall rest upon you this beautiful morning and throughout the day and throughout your life. And with that being said, one more time, God is the greatest. Enjoy the show. Be nice in the comment section, okay? Be nice. Okay. Be nice. Here we go.
Well, it's a great honor to have the Prime Minister and the Crown Prince of Bahrain. That's a fancy two titles, I want to tell you. I don't know if I'd rather be the Prime Minister or the Crown Prince. I think I'd take the Crown Prince. And very importantly, your son, your beautiful son, who has a great reputation, you know that.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Great reputation as a smart, hardworking guy, so it's good to say hello to you. Congratulations. We've had a tremendous relationship, I have personally, with Bahrain over the years, and has been a fantastic ally. And anything they needed, we helped them, and anything we needed, they helped us. And we're going to be talking about a lot of different things, including the most perfect military maneuver that anybody's seen probably in 50 years, which took place a few weeks ago in Iran, knocked out their entire potential nuclear capacity. And it was obliterated. You know, I used that term. They said, well, maybe that's too much. I said, no, it turned out it was more than obliterated. They can't go back. And we're just really going to talk about some things, including trade. We're going to be discussing trade. We do a lot of trading with Bahrain. And we're going to have lunch after this, but we'll take some questions. At first, I'd like to ask the Crown Prince to say a couple of words. And he also has a father who's living and well and doing fantastically, as I understand it.
He is.
And somebody who's respected all over the Middle East and all over the world. And thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, one and all. It is indeed a great honor to be here on this fine morning to put into action the relationship that exists between our two countries. We will be discussing security issues, we'll be discussing trade and investment, which is very important. We're very happy to be announcing $17 billion worth of deals that are coming to the United States. And this is real. This isn't...
It's real money.
These aren't fake deals. These are real deals.
They don't have to borrow the money.
We don't have to borrow it. It's coming in. And it only builds upon a legacy that we're very proud of. We have had a relationship in the civil side between our two countries since 1893 and formally since 1948. So May it long continue, and we look forward to many, many more years of productive
Yeah.
partnership. Thank you, Mr. President.
We will have
You
that.
honor us.
We will have that indeed. We'll have many good years, and I'd say right now is your top year, and we appreciate the investment. It's a great. We left, as you know, Saudi Arabia. We were just there, in Saudi Arabia, and Qatar was so great. League was great. We had UAE, and we had a couple of other visits, but all great places, and we left with $5.1 trillion of investment, and they all want to be investing in the United States. Now, we have, I think we have over $16 trillion of investment coming in, which is a record, and we're only a little bit into the year. And let's say the first 2 months, I sort of took it easy because we had to fix up the Oval Office. I had to devote my time to fixing it up, but now we had to fix up our country. So we have, I think everyone is saying we have the hottest country now anywhere in the world. We were dead a year ago. We are a dead country. And now we have the hottest country anywhere in the world. And it's a great honor to have you here.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Any questions?
Syria. Can you comment on the developments in Syria at the moment?
Well, I can comment. I think I'll ask Marco to say a few words on Syria.
Yeah, it's complicated. Obviously, these are historic, long-time rivalries between different groups in the south-west of Syria, Bedouins, the Druze community, and it led to an unfortunate situation and a misunderstanding, it looks like, between the Israeli side and the Syrian side. So we've been engaged with them all morning long and all night long with both sides, and we think we're on our way towards a real de-escalation and then hopefully get back on track in helping Syria build a country and arriving at a situation there in the Middle East is far more stable. So in the next few hours, we hope to see some real progress to end what you've been seeing over the last couple hours.
Mr. President Jerome Powell, do you have plans, or you're back considering firing Jerome Powell? What's your justification if you're thinking about this?
Well, he's too late. He's always been too late. Hence his nickname, Too Late. He should have cut interest rates a long time ago. Europe has cut them 10 times in the short period of time, and we cut them none. The only time he cut them was just before the election to try and help Kamala or Biden, whoever the hell it was, because nobody really knew. Obviously, that didn't work, but he tried to cut them for the Democrats, Kamala. And how did that work out? You'll tell me. It didn't work out too well, did it? But he's I think he does a terrible job. He's costing us a lot of money. And we fight through it. It's almost, the country's become so successful that it doesn't have a big impact, but it does hurt people wanting to get a mortgage. People want to buy a house. He's a terrible Fed chair. I was surprised he was appointed. I was surprised, frankly, that Biden put him in and extended him, but they did. So, no, we're not planning on doing anything. We're very concerned. He's doing a little renovation for $2.5 billion of the Fed, building a renovation, and they have a close to $900 million cost overrun, and it's a shame. But the biggest cost overrun is the cost overrun for interest rates, because we should be paying 3 points lower, and we would save $1 trillion a year in interest if that were the case. And all it is the stroke of a pen. And that goes for his board, too, because his board is not doing the job, because they should try and rein this guy in. So he's doing a lousy job, but no, I'm not talking about that. Fortunately, we get to make a change in the next, 8 months or so. And we'll pick somebody that's good, and we'll pick somebody. I just want a fair job. We want to see lower interest rates. Our country deserves it. We're making a lot of money. We're doing great as a country. We have no inflation. Record stock market, record business, record everything. Everything's a record now. We had the worst inflation in history under Biden, and now we have almost no inflation. We've done a great job, and we should have the interest rates cut.
So you're saying the other day that Scott Bessent, you're so happy with the Treasury that he's not your top option to replace Jerome Powell, whenever that may be, whenever you decide what you want to do with him.
Scott's doing a very good job. I'm very happy with Scott, which I'd rather keep him. Kevin's somebody would consider. Kevin is fantastic, too. We have a lot of good people for that job. It's not a tough job, to be honest. Assuming you're smart, it's not a tough job. If you're a dummy, then I guess it's a tough job. But it might be one of the easiest jobs I've ever seen. And now on top of it, he's building a close to $3 billion little nest egg for himself. He's not doing the right job. We should be saving $1 trillion a year in interest. You know, when he talks about cost, we should be saving. Think of it, $1 trillion a year. Add that with the tariffs and everything else. But he just doesn't want. He's a knucklehead. But we'll see how that. We'll see how he's listening to this. Yeah, that's a strange conversation. But you know, we like to say it like it is. But we have a lot of people that want that job very badly, and I'm only interested in low interest people, frankly, because you don't need. I know. So they had the 71 different economists and people that experts that they picked about a month ago. I was the only one, along with one person from maybe the Wharton School of Finance. The two of us got it right. 69 people, including Powell, got it wrong. And he wants to hire thousands of new people to help him decide where we're going in the future. It only takes one good mind. It doesn't take 5,000 good minds. So they're expanding the Fed. It's the dumbest thing I've heard of. But you know, it's very autonomous.
Just to follow up on that, sir, are you completely ruling out the idea of firing Jerome Powell?
I don't rule out anything, but I think it's highly unlikely unless he has to leave for fraud. I mean, it's possible there's fraud involved with the $2.7 billion renovation. This is a renovation. How do you spend $2.7 billion? And he didn't have proper clearance, et cetera, et cetera. So you know that's going on. So there could be something to that, but I think he's not doing a good job. He's got a very easy job to do. You know what he has to do? Lower interest rates. No, I haven't drafted a letter.
So you didn't show a letter to Republican lawmakers last night?
No, I talked about the concept of fire him. I said, what do you think? Almost every one of them said I should. But I'm more conservative than they are.
Mr. President?
No, we did. We talked about it. In fact, we had 11 of the 12 people here yesterday for a very big bill having to do with crypto, etc., and other things. And all of the votes are going with us, every single vote. But during the conversation, when we were talking about it, I asked, what would you do about that? They all said would fire him.
Mr. President?
Yeah, please.
Thank you for taking my question, sir. You were in Pennsylvania yesterday. You
Yes.
unveiled $92 billion worth of investments. One of those jumped out to $15 billion in Homer City to build the largest natural
Right.
gas
Yes.
power plant ever. I was at the rally where you told Homer City residents that you would not forget them when the biggest coal plant in Pennsylvania
That's right.
closed down. Delivered for them yesterday. What message do you have for those
Well, I'm
residents?
happy. Homer City. I was there, and I said, I'm going to produce something, I don't know what, because they had shut down this massive coal plant, one of the biggest in the country. And it was just purchased by the gentleman that you met yesterday, a very substantial man. I don't know if he's maybe not as substantial as you, I'm not sure. But he's pretty substantial. You know who I'm talking about. And they're going to spend billions of dollars on rebuilding it, and it's going to be the largest plant of its kind in the world, I believe, actually in the world, and it's going to be great. So we really fulfilled that promise to Homer City, but it's to Pennsylvania basically. I won Pennsylvania, and very conclusively won Pennsylvania. So I owe them a big debt of gratitude. But thank you for bringing that up. We raised 92. It's actually going over 100. So it'll be over $100 billion to be invested in Pennsylvania. It was Pennsylvania Energy Project. And everybody was there. Larry Fink was there. I mean, everybody was there and done a great job. The senator did a great job. And we were very proud. That was a great meeting yesterday. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, for each of you, so for the Crown Prince, are you planning on taking any of the Patriot missiles that you're going to receive from the United States? And
Thank you for tuning into the live show. All right, shout out to the GOAT. Shout out to the GOAT, Dr. Luke. the GOAT, God bless you for the super chat. He says, from my family to yours, Genesis. God bless you. God bless you too, Dr. Luke. Thank you for the super chat. Everybody tuned in, God bless you. Thank you so much. Enjoy the show. Here we go.
Goes to help Ukraine.
We have no current plans as we have an operational requirement inside Bahrain to keep them there for the present time. At least.
He's got plenty of them, too.
And Mr. President, on the fentanyl
And they
bill,
are.
They're wonderful. They're wonderful pieces of kit.
They work very well.
American technology is the best.
Yep.
and on the fentanyl bill that you're
And that's
signing.
maybe the most important part of this. He has his choice of everything, and we make the best military equipment by far in the
Bar
world.
none.
There's nothing close,
Absolutely.
right?
Bar none.
Yeah. Thank you.
And on the fentanyl bill that you're signing today, do you hope that that's going to restart law enforcement cooperation with China on getting the fentanyl?
Yeah, I think China's been helping out. I mean, it's been a terrible situation for many years with fentanyl, but since I came here, we're talking to them, and they're making big steps. They're also, as you know, being penalized. You know that, right? They're being penalized with tariffs because of the fentanyl, but they want to do something. We'll see what happens.
Mr. President,
Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. An American from Tampa was beaten to death, was killed by Israeli settlers in the West Bank. His family has been calling on you to help prosecute his killers. Are you going to do that, an American from Tampa?
Yeah, your first sentence is really. Go ahead.
An American citizen from
Yeah.
Tampa, Florida, has been killed in the West Bank. His family has been asking you to prosecute him. Are you going to help?
You know about
Yeah,
this.
well, so first of all, have you seen yesterday, Ambassador Huckabee has asked the Israelis to conduct an investigation. We want to get all the information about who was involved. We protect all American citizens anywhere in the world, especially if they're unjustly murdered or killed. So we're gathering more information, but I hope you saw yesterday Ambassador Huckabee in Israel asked the Israeli authorities to produce an investigation and concrete information about who was responsible for his murder.
They're reporting that tomorrow. We have a meeting on it. They're going to be reporting that to me. Yeah.
Do you think that the Gulf area now is more secure, and do you believe that a negotiation with Iran is necessary at this stage?
Well, I definitely believe that the volatility of the situation has been reduced. And we didn't know where it was going to go on the Sunday. We were very glad when we found out on the Monday. Let me put it that way. And should the Iranians want to negotiate, I believe the ball's in their court. That is the true reality of where we stand today. They are the ones that stand to benefit from a negotiation.
And they do. They want to negotiate. They want to negotiate badly. We're in no rush because, we said we could have made a deal. They should have made a deal. And then we bombed the hell out of their various places. We're in no rush, but if they want to negotiate, we're here. Yeah.
Mr. President, I know you want to move past all this intrigue over the Epstein files, but I do want to ask you to clarify something you said this morning. You said this was all a hoax. Has your attorney
It's a big
general
hoax.
told you this was a hoax? What evidence? have
No,
you
it's
seen?
not the Attorney General. No, I know it's a hoax. It's started by Democrats. It's been run by the Democrats for 4 years. You had Christopher Wray and these characters and Comey before him. And it's a bad group. It started, actually, look at the Steele dossier. That turned out to be a total hoax. The 51 agents, the intelligence, so-called intelligence agents, it was a hoax. It's all been a big hoax. It's perpetrated by the Democrats. And some stupid Republicans and foolish Republicans fall into the net. And so they try and do the Democrats' work. The Democrats are good for nothing other than these hoaxes. They're bad for policy. They're bad for picking candidates that can get elected. Like in New York, we have a communist running. He may get elected too, actually, but he'll destroy the city. No, it's I call it the Epstein hoax. It takes a lot of time and effort. Instead of talking about the great achievements we've had, a great gentleman yesterday, as you know, went on CNBC and he made the statement that Trump may go down as the greatest president of all in the United States. And instead of talking about the things we've achieved, we've had tremendous achievement. They're wasting their time with a guy who obviously had some very serious problems, who died 3-4 years ago. I'd rather talk about the success we have with the economy, the best we've ever had, and all of the things we've done, including the Middle East. I mean, you see it. Instead, they want to talk about the Epstein hoax. And the sad part is it's people that are really doing the Democrats' work. They're stupid people. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Mr. President, there's lots of reports coming into this meeting that you planned on firing Fed Chair Jay Powell.
Is that right? Those are reports, but they're not true.
So what would be useful to know, are you committed to picking someone from the outside, or are you going to interview?
I have so many people that want that job. I have people that I've known a long time. They're calling me, begging for the job. You know what you need there? A smart person with common sense, but you need a very smart person for that job. I think it's one of the easiest jobs in government. You show up once a month and you make a statement about where the economy's going, and we're going to raise or lower interest rates. It's probably the easiest job I've ever seen. That's why I'm trying to figure, why does he want to expand and add more people? He's going to add more economists to tell him what to do. But the economists, I was right. All the economists were wrong. They admitted it. They admitted it this morning. Quiet. Go ahead.
Powell, you mentioned fraud in an earlier answer. Are you saying you want to investigate the Fed chair for fraud related to this renovation?
Well, I think he's already under investigation. He spent far more money than he was supposed to on rebuilding. I didn't see him as being the kind of guy that would want to have parks, rooftop parks and everything else on top of buildings. But who wants to spend that money for the Fed? The Fed is supposed to sit there and say where interest rates are going and a couple of other very easy things to do. And he spent $2.5 billion. I think he's got some problems.
Mr. President, thank you, sir. You also reported a monthly surplus in the month.
That's right, $25 billion.
A ton of money. With these new tariff rates coming into effect on August 1st, we're going to be bringing in even more tariff revenue specifically. How much revenue do you think we can consistently bring in from these tariffs, and how big of a game changer is this, not only for the economy, but also for fiscal responsibility?
Well, we're going to be bringing in, already we've brought in over $100 billion. We'll be bringing in hundreds of billions of dollars. And the tariffs really haven't kicked in that much other than automobiles and steel. August 1st is a big day. August 1st is when very substantial money comes into our country. We've made deals with a lot of great places, but we had one yesterday, that was announced. We have another one coming up, maybe with India. I don't know. We're in negotiation. When I send out a letter, that's a deal. In other words, that's a deal. They don't want to ever say that. Oh, how many deals have you made? The best deal we can make is to send out a letter. And the letter says that you'll pay 30%, 35%, 25%, 20%, in one case 50%, Brazil, and because what they're doing to their former president is disgraceful. I know the former president, he fought like hell for the people of Brazil, that I can tell you. And I believe he's an honest man. I think what they're doing to him is terrible. So, we have some pretty good deals to announce, but every time we send out a letter, that's the deal. The big one really is going to be on the 150 countries that we're really not negotiating with, and they're smaller. We don't do much business with them. Because you have a lot of countries. You have over 200 countries. A lot of people don't know this, but we'll have well over 150 countries that we're just going to send a notice of payment out, and the notice of payment is going to say what the tariff, and it's all going to be the same for everyone, for that group. They don't, they're not big countries, and they don't do that much business. It's not like the ones that we've agreed with, like China, like Japan, where we're negotiating with them, but I think probably we'll live by the letter with Japan. We're very close to a deal with India where they open it up. Indonesia yesterday was, it wasn't an open country, now it is. And they have tremendous copper, quality copper, and probably the most copper. And we made a deal with Indonesia. We pay no tariff, zero, and we have total access to trade. That's a phenomenal deal for our companies. And we've agreed with them, as you know, on 19%. They pay 19%. And it's a good deal for them, and it's a good deal for us in that case. But we have a number of them coming up. But overall, we're doing well, and we're taking in a lot of money. A lot of money. We have the number one, we have the most oil of any country in the world, even more than them, which is hard to believe. But we have a little larger piece of land, right?
Do, sir.
But
May it well be so.
we're number one in the world in oil, and we're drilling, and today it hit $64 a barrel, which is great. And that'll help stop wars, actually. If you want to know the truth, it's going to help stop wars. And we hope to get it down a little bit more. But we have oil down to $2, $2.25, $2.50 in numerous states. We had one at $1.98 a gallon. And that's a great thing. That's one of the reasons that inflation's in check. When you can do that, you stop the inflation. What Biden did is he ended our policies, went to his policies. He didn't have a policy. Some lunatic around the desk had a policy. Whoever operated the auto pen had a policy, which is, by the way, I think the biggest scandal. That's the scandal they should be talking about, not Jeffrey Epstein. The scandal you should be talking about is the auto pen, because I think it's the biggest scandal, one of them in American history. So the economy is doing really well, and people are saying it. Yeah. Please. Go ahead.
Will you ask Attorney General Pam Bondi to release more documents to finally put this controversy to rest?
Yeah, whatever's credible, she can release. If a document is credible, if a document's there that is credible, she can release. I think it's good. But it's just a subject. He's dead. He's gone, and all it is the Republicans. Certain Republicans got duped by the Democrats, and they're following a Democrat playbook. And no different than Russia, and all the other hoaxes. They're started by the Democrats, and some Republicans. In this case, I was surprised, but they got duped.
Go
ahead.
President, first of all, your high-ranking officials, whether it's been your FBI director or Pam Bondi, they have made some inconsistent statements in the past.
Well, I don't know. I can't speak about him, but I can say that Pam Bondi, I really think that she's done very good. She says, I gave you all the credible information. And if she finds any more credible information, she'll give that too. What more can she do than that? I mean, honestly, what more can she do? And we do have bigger problems. We have problems with millions of illegal people that came in here, and they're killers and murderers. We have 11,888 murderers that were allowed into our country by Biden, sleepy Joe Biden, stupid Joe Biden. He allowed them into our country. And you know what? We got to do something about it. She's got a lot of things she's working on. And, it's very sad that somebody can be waylaid, just get waylaid. But I think she's doing a great job, personally. Go ahead.
In your presentation this morning, you mentioned past supporters when you were talking about the Epstein issue. Does that mean that you're effectively disowning any supporters?
No, but I lost a lot of faith in certain people. Yeah, I lost because they got duped by the Democrats. The Democrats are good for nothing. They've done a terrible job. They almost destroyed our country. If I didn't get elected, all these numbers you're hearing about, they found $25 billion and another 25 is coming in, and hundreds of billions of dollars is pouring into our country. And we just got the biggest tax cut in history. We just got the biggest regulation cuts in history. There'll be no tax on tips. There'll be no tax on Social Security. There'll be no tax on overtime. There'll be no tax on so many other things. You're allowed to deduct your interest from a car payment. That's never happened before. You borrow interest. You borrow money to buy a car if the car is made in America. And by the way, factories are being built all over America. Car factories, AI factories. But you get a deduction on your interest. Nobody ever thought of that before. It never happened before. And, these are the things that they should be talking about. The Big Beautiful Bill is one of the greatest pieces of legislation ever in this country, and the Democrats have nothing to combat it. So they say, oh, it's death. Oh, that's good. And then they give it to the fake news, which is you and a few others. And the fake news talks about the bill is death. The bill is actually life. The bill is life, and it saves our country. This bill is incredible. Look at the results already. So we have $16 trillion being invested in our country. And this great gentleman and his family just came in with another billions of dollars. And if he didn't like the country, if he didn't like where we were going, he's very smart. He'd come, maybe he wouldn't even come. I think maybe he wouldn't even come. You'd save your time. But because, it's one of those things. But if he didn't like where this country was, he wouldn't be investing billions of dollars in this country. But think of it, $16 trillion, more than has ever been even contemplated before. And we haven't even started yet. So that's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about the success. And the Democrats have nothing to show for what they do. They almost destroyed. They allowed 25 million people to come into our country, gang members, jailbirds, from all over the world, not South America, from all over the world. They allowed them to come into our country from mental institutions, insane asylums, just walk right through. They couldn't come into your country. They couldn't come into any country in the world except our country. And they came in from the worst places, gang members, drug dealers. They all came in. Turn it off, please. They all came in. And I'm doing something about it. We have it under check right now. We got rid of a lot of the murderers already. Some of them we put in our prisons because they're so bad we don't want to take a chance in putting them in a foreign prison, have them come back. But we've done a great job. Our country's in great shape. We literally have the hottest country anywhere in the world right now. And it's true what the king said, what a lot of people said. We were a dead country. 1 year ago, we were a dead country. We were laughed at all over the world. We had Afghanistan with that horrible embarrassment, most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. Look what happened with Russia and Ukraine. That should have never happened. Look what happened with Israel. That would have never happened. Hamas had no money. Iran had no money. There was no money to do an attack like that. All these things that happened that wouldn't have happened if you had good leadership. And that's what you should be talking about. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Legacies of saving lives. And so I'm turning my pain into.
We're also going to check this out right here. The OG, the 45th, now the 47th President of the United States, also participated in a bill signing concerning fentanyl. So a lot of families have been affected by fentanyl. And it is a sad story, absolutely sad, when you lose a loved one to, drug overdose or anything in that category. But, we just got to pray for everybody. People are going through a lot. That's all you could do. Pray for people. That's why I always say it's not party before country. It is country before party. Okay. We are Americans first before you're a Democrat or before you're a Republican. Watch this.
Nice to see you. Well, thank you very much. Please. It's an honor to be with you. We're making a lot of progress in our country, generally too. But this is a very special time because we've worked very hard to put ourselves in this position. Today we strike a righteous blow to the drug dealers, narcotic traffickers, and criminal cartels that we've all been hearing so much about for so many years, and very little has been done. And we take a historic step toward justice for every family touched by the fentanyl scourge as we sign the HALT Fentanyl Act into law. Good job. Good job. Well done. Well done. Thank you very much. With this bill, we are officially and permanently classifying all fentanyl-related substances as Schedule I narcotics, which is actually a very big deal. It doesn't sound like much. It's a big deal, as they will tell you, meaning anyone caught trafficking these illicit poisons will be punished with a mandatory 10-year minimum sentence in prison. We'll be getting the drug dealers, pushers, and peddlers off our street. And we will not rest until we have ended the drug overdose epidemic. And it's been getting a little bit better, but it's horrible. It's horrible. We're going to end it once and for all. And we're pleased to be joined on this occasion by my future DEA administrator. He's going to be a very important position, Terry Cole. Where's Terry Cole? Hello, Terry Cole. I hope you're as good as they say, Terry. I hope you're as good as Glenn Youngkin says, because it was his recommendation that got you this job. You better do a good job or I'm blaming Glenn. Glenn, I'm going to blame you if he's no good. And who the hell knows, but I have a feeling he's going to be great. Is he that good? All right, good. You better be good. But it was really, Glenn has had tremendous experience with Terry, and he said he's fantastic. He did the job like nobody that you've seen, and we take your word for it. Thank you very much, Glenn. Also with us is Secretary Kristi Noem, who's doing a fantastic job. Where's Kristi? Where are you? Kristi. Hi, Kristi. She is doing a great job with Tom Homan, who's fantastic. He's also central casting. He does serve the central casting role, too, doesn't he? And he's a great guy. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff. Steve, thank you very much. Thank you. Good job. And we have some good news on Gaza and good news on a couple of things that we're working on at a very high level. But you've done a fantastic job. Thank you very much. My nominee to lead the Office of National Drug Control Policy, Sarah Carter. Sarah, great reporter, too. She was a very tough and good reporter, and you've done a fantastic job. So now you'll be able to put all that experience to work. No more criticizing or anything else. You got to do it yourself, and you're going to do a great job, you know, as reporters do on occasion. Thank you very much. Thanks, Sarah. Good luck. Governors Glenn Youngkin, Jeff Landry, and Kelly Armstrong, where are you? Stand up. Great. Hi, fellas. Hi. How are you? And great friends of ours, Senators Chuck Grassley. Chuck, fantastic. You look fantastic. Looks like he's 44 years old. You look great, Chuck. We're proud of you. Jim Banks. Jim. Thank you, Jim. Good job. Good job. Ron Johnson. Ron, good. We've got that bill passed, Ron. We got it passed. Thank you for all your help, too. Ashley Moody. Ashley, thank you very much. Jim Risch. Thank you, Jim. And you're doing a great job on the committees, and you're getting them through, the people that we need, right? I appreciate it, Jim, very much. I urge him, like, Jim, you got to get going. No, Jim's been fantastic. Bill Cassidy. Thank you, Bill, very much. Thank you very much. And Roger Marshall. Roger, thank you. And by the way, I have to say, John Thune called. He said, can you get my senators back? We're taking a vote, so we're going to go as quickly as you can. And if you feel like the urge, just get out. And we got to get all these bills signed, a lot of them related to what we're doing. So don't have the urge to stay. I won't be insulted if you walk out. But he just called. He said, could you get him back as soon as possible? Representatives Morgan Griffin, Brett Guthrie, Andy Biggs, Andy Barr, Buddy Carter, Addison McDowell, Troy Balderson. Hi, Troy. Randy Feenstra. Thank you, Randy. Scott Franklin, Tony Gonzalez, John Joyce, Dan Muser, Mike Carey, Scott Fitzgerald, Diana Harshbarger, Bob Latta. That's a good group of people. Hal Rogers, Mike Rowley, and Nick Langworthy. Thank you. We've got a lot of great people. That's a lot of political talent we have. A lot of political talent. Thank you very much. Thanks as well to State Attorneys General Brenna Bird. Thank you, Brenna, wherever you may be, because, you know, Brenna Hey, she was the first one in that state to endorse Trump. Thank you very much. I don't forget those things, even though this is non-political today, okay? Alan Wilson, Chris Carr, and Marty Jackley. Thank you all very much. Thank you. So 6 months ago, we came into office and inherited the worst drug crisis in American history by far. They did nothing. For 4 long years, Joe Biden surrendered our borders to the most evil and vicious traffickers, networks, and everything else on the planet Earth, allowing foreign drug cartels to carve out a massive footprint on American soil. We were doing nothing. This open borders nightmare flooded our country with fentanyl and with people that shouldn't be here, some of the worst people on earth. And illicit drugs decimated American communities and left us with the largest law enforcement challenge in our country's history, and hopefully will always be the largest. I can't imagine anything being worse. They allowed millions and millions of criminals into our country, 11,888 murders, 50% of whom murdered more than one person. On day one of the Trump administration, we declared an all-out war on the dealers, smugglers, traffickers, and cartels. Within moments of taking office, I deployed the U.S. military to our border and unleashed the patriots of ICE and Border Patrol to defend our country from an invasion. This was an invasion. This wasn't people coming in. This was an invasion of our country, allowed to happen by people either that didn't care or were just stupid people. Stupid people. I also designated the Mexican drug cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. And within a few short weeks, believe it or not, if you remember, now we've even surpassed that, but we achieved the most secure border in U.S. history. And last month, we had the lowest number of illegal border crossings ever recorded. We had in June, the number was actually 0. Now, even I don't believe that, but we're going to take it. How can you go from hundreds of thousands to 0? But that's what they say. And these are very liberal people that do the recording, so I think we're going to have to take it. But the number was 0 in June. Can't get much better than that, right? On day one, I signed executive orders to create new Homeland Security task forces, marshaling the full power of federal law enforcement to eradicate transnational criminal networks and traffickers from our soil. We wanted them out. 2 weeks ago, we secured the resources necessary to achieve that mission when I signed the One Big Beautiful Bill into law. And I want to thank you all. I want to thank you. I want to thank you all. You did a great job. And you could go point after point how good it is. You know, they have just a hit against that. It's one of the biggest tax cuts in history, really the biggest everything in history. We have things in terms of security, in terms of securing our country, taking care of our police officers, law enforcement, our ICE and Border Patrol patriots. I call them patriots because that's what they are. These are strong people, tough people that love our country. If they weren't tough, they wouldn't survive. But we do more for the country in that bill, I think, than just about any bill that's been passed. And we're going to have to start speaking about it because the Democrats use it. They say it represents death. How effective is that, right? That's pretty good. It represents that. That's all they have. They only have lies. It's the only thing they have. They don't have policy. They can't get people elected. They don't have good candidates. They don't have anything, but they do have 2 things. They stick together. They stick together like glue. And they always come up with a good little tagline. This tagline is death. And the death is them. We're the ones that are giving life. We're giving life with that bill. And there's so many good things, whether it's no tax on tips. Think of that. No tax on Social Security. No tax on overtime. If you buy a car, you want to buy a car, you get a deduction of interest on your mortgage. So think of that. Things that were never even a possibility. and then so much else in terms of health, in terms of providing care. It's really just a fantastic bill, and it's about time that we're going to start, and we'll start talking about it. But once we do, I think we're going to have the greatest midterm that you've ever seen, because this thing really is amazing. And I want to thank all of the senators in particular for getting it done, It also makes the largest investment in the U.S. Coast Guard since World War II, ensuring that we have assets and all of the assets needed to vanquish the cartels from the waterways of North America. We're building a lot of Coast Guard ships that go very speedily along the water, and they're very lethal. They're very powerful, and that's what we need, because a lot of it comes in as we block up the border. They start using the water. That's a good run. I could use that. They block up the border. We start using the water. And that's what happens. They start using the water. Who would think? They even actually developed small submarines. You saw that, right? Small submarines to get the drugs in. And it's incredible. But we've stopped them. I've also directed the Department of Justice to seek maximum sentences for fentanyl traffickers. We're going to absolutely do the maximum. Since my inauguration, the DOJ has seized over 4,500 pounds of fentanyl, which is a record, including with the enormous Sinaloa cartel bust in May, one of the toughest cartels out there, the largest fentanyl bust ever in United States history. And now with the signing of the HALT Fentanyl Act, in just a few moments, we are delivering another defeat for the savage drug smugglers and criminals and the cartels who have a tremendous amount to say about Mexico. If you want to be nice about it, I'm trying to be nice about it. They have very strong controls over Mexico, and we have to do something about that. Can't let that happen. The Mexican authorities are petrified. They're petrified to show up at their office. They're petrified to go to work, because the cartels have a tremendous grip on Mexico and the politicians and the people that get elected. For years, the monsters who manufacture illicit fentanyl have sought to skirt legal restrictions by making minor variations of the chemical compound, and in the process, they've developed even more toxic versions of the drug. One common variant, known as carfentanil, it's becoming more and more common. It's 100 times more potent than the original version of fentanyl. Can you imagine? Look at what you have to suffer with the original. I mean, this is 100 times more potent, and it's happening stronger, more and more dangerous. And as you know, and I have a very good relationship with President Xi of China, but I imposed a 20% tariff on China because of the fentanyl, and I call it a penalty. It's a penalty because China delivers much of the fentanyl. Some people would say all of it. They deliver it into Mexico and even into our own country. We have a 20%, so they pay billions of dollars in damages for what they've done. And I think we're going to work it out so that China is going to end up going from that to giving the death penalty to the people that create this fentanyl and send it into our country, whether it's through other countries or directly. I believe that we would have had that deal a long time ago. I shook hands with them, and then we had a rigged election, and we had somebody else come in, and they didn't know anything about a deal for the death penalty. The death penalty is going to be imposed on people from China that make fentanyl and send it into our country. I believe that's going to happen soon. But as of today, all fentanyl-related substances will be banned forever, and those who traffic in these deadly poisons will be put behind bars for a very long period of time. We're joined today by just a few of the millions of families ravaged by this scourge, including Greg Swan from Michigan, who carries with him the heartbreaking loss of his beautiful son, Drew. Drew became addicted to opioids after being prescribed painkillers following a sports injury, got injured, and this is happening so much, got injured in sports and ends up, you leave the hospital a week later and you're addicted. But he fought through it and got himself clean. Then one day, Drew took a pill laced with fentanyl. He took it just casually, thought it would be okay. took a chance and he thought he'd be okay, and it didn't work out, and he tragically lost his life. And Greg, I'd like you to come forward, and if you could just say a few words about your wonderful, wonderful son, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Honor of my life.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. President. I will be brief. It's the honor of my life to be here, and Drew was the happiest day of my life was when he was born, and he always called me his hero to the day he died. And his passing ruined, I thought, my life, and every parent back here that I meet and in the audience, some of my friends, their life is gutted when they lose a kid. There's despair and there's hopelessness. But we've been able to find some repose in going out and advocating, and we want to hit every school in America. There's 26,727 of them. We want to go into every one. The kids are silent when they hear we lost somebody to this, and we tell our story, and they leave unequivocally ready to run away from fentanyl. I would just like to say thank you, Mr. President, for stopping the border crossings. Full stop, mic drop. I'll step back but it was amazing what you did. We were being gaslit, and you came and lit a fire to that story, and we're a lot safer for it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you.
That's tough stuff. We're also grateful to be joined by California native Ann Fundner, who lost her beautiful eldest son, Weston, to fentanyl when he was just 15 years old, exactly 1 year ago today. Ann delivered a moving tribute to Weston at the Republican National Convention. People that saw it have not forgotten it. And Ann, I'd like you to please come up and say a few words about your wonderful boy. Thank you. Please. Thank you, darling.
Thanks so much. It's an honor. Good afternoon, Mr. President and distinguished guests. My name is Ann Fundner.
Oh, hold that. Come here. I'm going to hold that.
Thank you.
Okay.
And I'm an angel parent. 1 year ago today, on July 16th, I stood in front of America and told the story of my son, Weston, at the RNC. And about how he was a beautiful, loving, had a wonderful life. We did everything right. But one pill, one mistake, given by a friend under peer pressure, took his life. In the last 4 years, fentanyl became the #1 killer of Americans, ages 15 to 48. And children under 14 are the fastest growing demographic. President Trump, for 4 years, we felt ignored. But you've changed that, and we appreciate that so much. You've closed the borders, sanctioned cartels, imposed tariffs, closed shipping loopholes. Most people don't know about that. That was a big one. Dealt with countries where it's coming from. You mobilized Treasury, Justice Department, Homeland Security, lawmakers, legislators, and today the signing of the Halt Fentanyl Act, bipartisan and overwhelmingly supported by everybody, making fentanyl a Schedule I drug to strengthen the criminalization and prosecution of people who peddle this. It is a lifeline for families across America and keeping our families safe. And that's all you always want, to keep America safe. And thank you so much. Thank you for keeping America safe and for our children. And this is what we voted for, Mr. President. God bless you. God bless our angel families who are all here with us today, and all of you sitting up here with us. And God bless America. Thank you so much. You can have that. Would you like that? I would love to give that to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's just crazy that we have to even be doing this. It's so sad. It should be so unnecessary that we stand here for years and years doing the same thing over and over. It's terrible. A friend of mine, a longtime friend of mine, is Jackie Siegel, and her beautiful children, her husband David just passed away. David Siegel was a great developer, great developer, great guy, friend of mine. But her children, Jordan, Jacqueline, and Drew, come from Florida. Jackie lost her beautiful daughter, Victoria, to drugs when Victoria was just 18 years old, a beautiful person. And this April, Jackie lost her sister, Jessica, to fentanyl. In her daughter's honor, Jackie founded Victoria's Voice. And I'd like to ask Jackie to come up and say a few words about her daughter, her husband, her family. She's comes from a great family, and they've been fighting this scourge for a long time. Thank you very much, Jackie.
Mr. President, it's an honor to be here today on behalf of our family, my late husband, and all of the other affected families for this important signing on this bipartisan issue. 10 years ago, when our daughter, 18 years old, passed, Victoria, she was 18, she passed away of a drug overdose. We formed the Victoria's Voice Foundation, and the Trump administration was very helpful in passing the CARA Act, which saved many lives back then, bringing out the Narcan. And we're so honored. Well, actually, when my husband passed away, thank you for the phone call and your love and support. Our family loves you, Mr. President. That day, when my sister found out of my husband's passing, she did a line of cocaine that she thought was cocaine, and it was fentanyl. So I lost both of them in the same day. And it's been a very rough time. But it's turned me into more of a fighter to carry on my husband's legacy and the other families' legacies of saving lives. And so I'm turning my pain into passion. And also, on top of this, with the signing of this important the act that you're doing, we are joining with Victoria's Voice is joining with founding fathers, and we're going to start the Angel Army. So we're even growing even more under this Trump administration. Okay. And we're going to spend the rest of our lives doing this. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Jackie.
Thank you.
Very effective. That army will be very effective, knowing Jackie. So thank you very much, Jackie. Everyone knows someone touched by the incredible crisis that we've all been watching all over the world. They're watching it. Other countries have the problem. But I don't think there are too many that have it more seriously than us. They come here and they rip us. They rip us so badly, the cartels and all of the others, because we're sort of a rich country, and that's where the money is. So it happens. People say, why is it so much? Because we have money. We're richer than other countries, so they come here more. They take the money like taking candy from a baby. So today, on behalf of all Americans who have lost a loved one to opioids, we renew our vow to liberate America from this horrible plague, and I hope you're going to do a fantastic job. You have no idea how important you are. You have maybe the most important job just about in government. There's nothing more important than what you're doing, so I wish you a lot of luck, and we'll be there to help you all the way along, okay? Once again, I want to thank Congress for passing this important bill and for all the work you've done over the last 2 weeks, all of you. What a job you've all done. And it was the congressmen and women and the Senate has been unbelievable. And I'd like to ask, if you want, stand right up here while I sign the bill, and then we're going to get you right back so you can keep passing other bills and make America great again, right? Okay, thank you very much. It's great to have you. Nice signature, Chuck. All right, I'm doing good, Chuck. Okay, are we all set? You feel very, very protected in here, Jim.
Yeah.
Very
Getting closer and
protected.
closer.
We want to make sure it's signed.
People behind you. People behind you.
And this is not an auto pen, right? That's for sure. That's great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Pass them out. Okay.
The most hardworking president in history. It's just the facts, yo. It is the facts. The most
Thank you very much,
hardworking.
everybody. This is really an honor. Very important. One of the more important things that we'll ever sign, I suspect. And thank you all for the great job you've done. Thank you. Thank you all for the great job. Thank you very much, everybody.
He cares about the American people. Of course, he's not perfect. I'm not voting for a priest, okay? Donald Trump is not a priest or a pastor, all right? He is the president of the United States. He has the office that takes the most hard decisions for over what 280 million Americans. So you just got to be actually 340 million Americans. So he must be a diplomat. He's not supposed to be a priest. He was voted in to take hard decisions. So think about that for a second. All right, here we go. Hannity and Tom Homan. Here we go.
Homan, it's not funny either because I think it's the most preventable national security disaster in the history of the country. Known terrorists, we have Iranian assassination squads, we have murderers, rapists, other violent criminals, cartel members, gang members, and drug dealers. And we don't know where they all are. And as great a job as you're doing, and I mean that, you know, it's like finding a needle in a haystack to get everybody. And I don't know if you had 10 years if you'll find everybody.
Well, look, I'm shocked this guy didn't change his name, went into hiding. I mean, he has blood on his hands. I can't believe he's actually admitting to be a Biden border advisor because based on his advice, we had historical immigration. They took the most secure border we ever had in Trump 45 and unsecured on purpose, which caused a historic increase in sex trafficking of young women and children. It caused 400 national security threats arrested at the border. It caused 250,000 Americans dead from fentanyl, an historic record. Over 4,000 migrants died across that border, an historic record. They broke a lot of records. They were all bad. And in the very end, they said, well, we dropped immigration by 70%. No, they didn't. He's probably the advisor that created the CHMV program, Cuba, Nicaragua, Venezuela.
And this is the thing when people say, well, we won the list, we won the Epstein files or whatever. Okay. Yes, you should want it. Don't stop talking about it. I don't want people to stop talking about it. I want you to keep talking about it. Keep on talking about it. You have to talk about it so your voice can be heard. That's why America is democracy. Okay? That's what people say. America is a democracy. But actually, it's a republic. But, you know, the people in power have always pushed for the fact that America is a democracy, but America is actually a republic. But okay. You should never stop talking about the things that you care about. However, does the Epstein files affect the economy? Does the Epstein files affect the border? Does the Epstein files affect Americans from paying their bills, from affording groceries, from affording their mortgage? Does the Epstein files affect those things that I just mentioned? If it's so important to you, never stop talking about it. It is your right to be able to voice your opinion. However, does the Epstein files, like I call it, of course I know it's Epstein, but I call it Epstein, okay? Does the files affect you and a lot of American people trying to pay their bills? So why do you actually care about the Epstein files? You care about it because of transparency, okay? Because the Trump administration prides itself on the fact that it is a transparent administration. So, yes, the files should be released. Absolutely. Immediately. Now. Release it now. However, is the files going to stop you from going to work, clocking in, and doing the best you can to feed your family? I don't think so.
In Haiti, let's bring 30,000 a month into the airports. Then let's open up the CBP1 app and bring thousands in every day so we can say the illegal entries are down. They just played a shell game. I wonder if he advised Trump. I mean, did he advise Mayorkas and Kamala Harris and Biden to keep saying the border secure when we know it wasn't secure? President Trump secured this border, the highest level ever, in 7 weeks. He took the most unsecured border we've ever seen with all these historic numbers and secured it in 7 weeks, President Trump.
Biden, Harris, Mayorkas, they all have blood on their hands. The complicit Democrats that remained silent went along with the lie, the border's secure, the border's closed. They're as guilty. Compliant media, they didn't report, they didn't show the American people the truth. They bear responsibility in all of this. And I hope to God I'm wrong, but I think it's a matter of when, not if. I know you're catching terrorists in the country, but there will be an attack on our homeland, and they will be responsible for allowing these people in. What is going on with the 830% increase in violence against border and ICE agents? What is going on, and how do we protect them?
Look, you got all these crazies on the left that feel emboldened because you got members of Congress, you got members of the Senate comparing ICE to the Nazis and racists and terrorist groups, for God's sake. They're making these claims. So you got these nuts on the left who are emboldened because they're thinking, well, if a member of Congress thinks they're racist and they're the terrorists, then we can act upon it. And look, you're right. The assault's up over 800%. And the media, they're doing nothing but attacking ICE for wearing masks, trying to protect themselves and trying to protect their families. Not only are they attacking ICE agents, they're going after their families and their children. So President Trump made a statement the other night, and I agree with him. This is over. You throw a stone at an ICE vehicle, we're going to get out, we're going to arrest you, we're going to prosecute you. You put a hands on an ICE officer, zero tolerance. You put a hand on an officer, you're going to jail. If you impede an ICE officer, you're going to jail. If you harbor and conceal an illegal alien, you're going to jail. Zero tolerance. Pam Boning's already talked to U.S. attorneys across the country. They will not decline a prosecution presented by ICE or Border Patrol when someone puts a hand, impedes, or destroys government property. We're done with this. We're taking a hard stance.
Why do you never hear Democrats? They always talk about they're now focused on whether they should call where we are housing the illegals that your agents are arresting. They're debating amongst themselves whether to call them internment camps or concentration camps. I would call them holding cells until we can deport them, enforcing the law of the land. What do you say to those states and cities that have institutionalized protecting these illegal immigrants by offering sanctuary status?
Well, President Trump made a commitment 2 weeks ago. We're going to double down and triple down on sanctuary cities. We're going to send additional resources. If they don't allow us to arrest the bad guy in the safety and security of the jail, we're going to send thousands of ICE officers, and we're going to swarm the neighborhoods. We're going to swarm worksite enforcement. If we're going to find the bad guy, when we find the bad guy, he may be with others that may not be criminal targets, but they're in the country illegally, they're going to. So doubling down, tripling down on sanctuary cities. Flood the zone.
Flood the zone. ICE, baby. ICE, baby. Look, legal immigrants do not like illegal immigration. I'll say that one more time. Legal immigrants do not like illegal immigration. So take that to the bank. Anyways, CNN, ladies and gentlemen, CNN for the leaves. Okay, because I show both parties. Yeah, here we go.
Story that will not go away for President Trump, and not go away because Republicans on the Hill are joining in the MAGA chorus demanding more transparency on the Jeffrey Epstein investigation. This is reaching something of a bipartisan fever pitch right now and creating the most bizarre alliances. MAGA influencers, congressional Republicans, and congressional Democrats essentially teaming up against the Trump administration and its handling of a case that went away in 2019 when Jeffrey Epstein died in jail, sparking a flood of conspiracy theories on the right. Even House Speaker Mike Johnson is now speaking out, calling on the Department of Justice to release whatever files they still have on the sex trafficking investigation. President Trump, after years suggesting he would release files and wanted them released to the American people, now says he just does not get it why people care.
I don't understand it, why they would be so interested. He's dead for a long time. He was never a big factor in terms of life. I don't understand what the interest or what the fascination is. I really don't. It's pretty boring stuff. It's sordid, but it's boring. And I don't understand why it keeps going. But credible information, let them give it. Anything that's credible, I would say, let them have it.
There you have it. He already said anything credible, let them have it. But no, that's not enough.
Attorney General Pam Bondi, for her part, is not budging, maintaining that after their review of the files, there is nothing to see. House Democrats, as I mentioned, they're really jumping in now. They tried to force the Justice Department's hand here by putting an amendment in an unrelated bill to release the Epstein files. That failed, but that's not stopping Democrats from trying to exploit this break, this fissure between President Trump and his party. CNN's Kevin Liptak is joining us now starting us off from the White House this morning. Where is this headed today, Kevin?
Well, it's certainly not dying down, which had been the expectation of people inside the White House when we were talking about this yesterday. Certainly the president's supporters still very upset about all of this. And it's not clear that the president saying that he doesn't understand it, saying that, quote, only very bad people are interested in this, is going to have the effect that he hopes it has. And a lot of the ire still continues to be directed at the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, who, remember, only a few months ago said that she had the Epstein client list on her desk ready to review, but then in that memo last week said that such a list did not exist. Now, we heard from Mike Johnson, who is about the biggest ally of President Trump's in Washington. He was asked about that comment from Pam Bondi. Listen to what Johnson said.
We should put everything out there and let the people decide. Pam Bondi, I don't know, when she originally made the statement, I think she was talking about documents, as I understood it, that were on her desk. I don't know that she was specific about a list or whatever, but she needs to come forward and explain that to everybody.
So clearly now a lot of pressure mounting on the Justice Department to put out more information on this. And in fact, you did hear from President Trump yesterday, even as he tried to dismiss all of this, say that he thinks that Bondi should put out more information if it is what he calls credible. But at the same time, he sort of diminished the possibility that such a credible list might exist, saying that it was created by his political rivals. We've also heard Democrats call for hearings on Capitol Hill, people who are associated with Epstein in the Justice Department. We also heard from Tim Burchett, the Tennessee Republican, saying that he wants to hear from the Epstein associate Ghislaine Maxwell, saying that she should come and testify on Capitol Hill. She's, of course, serving 20 years in prison in Tallahassee. Not exactly clear how that would work. But in that interview, Mike Johnson said that he was open to that, saying that he's, quote, all for transparency.
The calls are growing from within President Trump's party to release more information about the case around Jeffrey Epstein. So as the base continues to revolt over Epstein into the second week, some of the president's House allies basically want to see more transparency. Earlier this year, Pam Bondi, Attorney General, told Fox News a list of Epstein clients was, quote, sitting on her desk for review. You can see an image there of Mike Johnson, who's also moved on this issue. Sources are now telling CNN that she was actually referring to files which were later given to right-wing influencers at the White House in big folders labeled the Epstein Files Phase 1. President Trump still seems confused why so many in his party are preoccupied with this.
I don't understand why the Jeffrey Epstein case would be of interest to anybody. It's pretty boring stuff. It's sordid, but it's boring. And I don't understand why it keeps going.
Group chat is back. CNN has done some polling on the issue and found that 3% of Americans are satisfied with the amount of information released on this case. That dissatisfaction along party lines isn't even that far off. As always, I care about the independence number, which is now at 52%. And Democrats, getting religion, very interested now, Maria. 56% are like, hey, we need more information. I don't know who wants to jump in here. Is there a clean way out?
I think politically for Democrats right now, they are doing the right thing in terms of fanning the flames, because this is something that is going to be very detrimental to Trump and Republicans if they don't quell their base. That's the point. The fanning of the flames for Democrats needs to show MAGA base, the podcasters who were so supportive of Trump are the ones who are now saying, we need more information. He's not doing what we thought he was going to do. We did not vote for this. If Democrats continue to underscore that, as opposed to just chiming in ourselves about how this needs to be something because it's important for the American people, right?
Yeah.
That's what we need to be doing, is underscoring how this could be the one thing, Adi. We have always asked, what is the one thing, if it exists, that would make the MAGA base turn on Trump? It certainly wasn't him shooting
but
somebody
it's
on
hard.
Fifth Avenue.
Exactly.
This could be it.
And I should show a Truth Social post from the president basically saying, why are we giving publicity to files written by Obama, Crooked Hillary, Comey? I mean, it's the rogues gallery. It's all the things. All the things. Just put them in there. And the response in general, not been great. Can I give the last few seconds to you?
Yeah, that's right. Not been great. This goes to Donald Trump's core, right? This idea that he was an outsider, he was going to come in and crack heads.
And in QAnon lore, he's the savior.
He is the savior to do this. And now for him to say, oh, there's nothing to see here, why are people up in arms? It goes directly against his identity and the identity of people he picked for these offices. Kash Patel, Pam Bondi. So
Dan
they've got a
Bongino
real,
especially.
Don Bongino, exactly.
Joining me now is Holly Baltz, an investigations editor with the Palm Beach Post. Holly, good morning to you, and it's so great to have you. You and some of your colleagues have covered Jeffrey Epstein extensively, going back years and years. Having said that, I'd like to first get your reaction to President Trump now claiming that the Epstein files were made up by Democrats like Barack Obama and Joe Biden. He's also blaming former FBI Director James Comey. What do you say to that?
Yeah, that's a very interesting statement because, his administration under the Justice Department arrested and charged Jeffrey Epstein in 2019. Jeffrey.
This should tell everybody something. If CNN is so interested in this conversation, the same CNN that said that Joe Biden was sharp as nails, ready to go, and they said he had a stutter, he wasn't cognitively declining. The same CNN that told you Kamala Harris was going to be the next president of the United States. The same CNN, ladies and gentlemen, now peddling this Epstein situation. Well, I got to tell you guys, maybe this will unite the country. All right, here we go.
Morning CNN polling showing President Trump's so-called big, beautiful bill that he just signed into law is getting some ugly reviews from voters. Roughly 6 in 10 Americans say they oppose the president's sweeping tax and spending plan. But the response is not entirely negative. Joining us now, CNN Washington Bureau Chief and Political Director David Chalian. David, can you break down for us how Americans feel about this mega bill? And there are lots of different parts, but overarching doesn't look great.
Yes, this is going to be an uphill sales battle for the administration, which begins in earnest today when J.D. Vance heads to Battleground, Pennsylvania to do just that, Sarah. Take a look at the overall numbers you mentioned here. 61% of Americans in our brand new poll by SSRS oppose the mega bill that Trump signed into law on July 4th. 39% support it. Look at it by party. Obviously, you'd imagine Democrats are overwhelmingly opposed. Republicans are in favor here. But if you look at the independent number, only 32% of independents support this bill. 2/3 of independents are opposed. And I would note on the Republican line, 1 in 5 Republicans, 19% of Republicans say they are opposed to the bill, Sarah.
All right. So what does this spell out for the sort of overarching Trump approval rating?
Well, Donald Trump's approval rating in our brand new poll stands at 42% approval, which is roughly where he was when we last checked in as well. So we're not seeing a ton of movement. Now, I should say 42% is not where any president wants to be. He's upside down there by 16 percentage points. 58% of Americans disapprove of how he's handling his job as president. But we're not yet seeing any kind of movement in his approval rating, which tends to be, in the history of Donald Trump on the public stage, operating within a very narrow band. And we're seeing that here in the second term as he approaches the 6-month mark as well.
Yeah, and certainly already Democrats are kind of seizing on these numbers and trying to use this as 2026 gets closer and closer. David Chalian, thank you so much for breaking that down for us, the new CNN polling there. John?
All right, with us now, CNN political commentator Alyssa Farah Griffin and former Chief of Staff to then Vice President Mike Pence, Mark Short.
Don't spend too much time on CNN. All right, let's go. Jasmine Crockett. All right, the dumbest. Okay.
Texas Democratic Congresswoman
I
Jasmine
was about to
Crockett
say.
is also a member of the House
I
Judiciary.
was about to say the Democrat star, and it sounded like I said the dumbest, but I didn't call her dumb. Okay, don't get me wrong. I didn't call her dumb. Okay, here we go. Jasmine Crockett, the Democrat star. All right.
And
Here we go.
oversight committees. You know, Congressman, when I heard about this, you were the first person I wanted to hear his opinion on this, because coming from Texas, are you concerned about that Republican effort to redraw those congressional lines? And if you are, which I'm assuming you are, what can you do about it?
Yeah, so first of all, we've got to educate people. So thank you for having the conversation. This is bigger than just Texas. You know, a lot of people kind of look at this and be like, well, this is a Texas problem. No, it's an all of us problem. It's the entire country as well as the world that needs to be concerned. Because first of all, when we think about the fact that this administration has talked a lot about a third term, whoever controls the House is going to be the person who has to certify the election. So, you know, these guys don't play by any rules. They break everything. And right now, they are trying to not only rig the midterms, but potentially rig the next election by making sure that we have more of these complacent, complicit folk continuing to run the House, because honestly, they just do whatever he tells them to do. They don't do what the Constitution calls for, and they don't do what their oath calls for.
I'm old enough to remember and young enough to remember when gerrymandering was a horrible word. The
Yeah.
idea of redrawing maps, both sides hated that particular issue, Democrats, Republicans, although I do hear Governor Gavin Newsom saying that he is suggesting perhaps something similar. Should he?
Absolutely.
So
Because
it'll truly be tit for tat. Would that be respected?
You've got to meet the moment. You've got to meet the moment. And the reality is that we need to be in a fair position. Honestly, Donald Trump would not be causing the havoc that he's causing if it wasn't for North Carolina deciding that they were going to cheat as well. They ended up controlling the Supreme Court in North Carolina, and so they decided to redraw the lines. When they redrew the lines, they added 3 seats for Republicans. It is not reflective of the people in North Carolina. Right now, you have 10 Republicans and 4 Democrats when it comes to the congressional makeup. But when you look at how the state voted, they barely voted a little bit over 50% for Donald Trump. But every other statewide election, governor on down, they voted for the Democrats. So it's a 50-50 state. And the congressional delegation used to be 7-7, reflective of the people. And so what we have now, though, is the state of Texas, ever since the Shelby v. Holder case, they have decided, you know what, thank you, hallelujah, because they have always been found to be intentionally discriminatory. When we ended up adding 2 new seats in the state of Texas, somehow that was because there were 95% people of color that were added to the state. But when it came down to it, somehow they worked around every single person of color that they could find to create 2 new Anglo seats. Right now, what they are going to do is they are going to further dilute the voices of Black and brown people so that they can accomplish this sinister goal of making sure that they can squeeze out and cheat and get these seats.
To remind people, of course, North Carolina is one of those states where a judge said it was surgical precision they were using to try to gerrymander in this way. And of course, Shelby v. Holder rolling back the Voting Rights Act under Section 5, which continues to impact everyone even today. A big story right now that's happening, even aside from gerrymandering and redistricting, has been about what's going on with Jeffrey Epstein and the campaign promises that then candidate Trump was making about transparency. You were on the House Judiciary Committee. Democrats on that committee are calling for Trump administration officials to testify about how they've been handling this entire investigation. What would you ask them?
Oh, I mean, there's a long list. But I can tell you that I serve as the ranking member of oversight as the subcommittee on judiciary. We just had a hearing today, and they decided to go after our nonprofit organizations. But what we did is we focused on what the American people want to hear about and what we should be doing, which is actual judicial oversight. And so we should be calling in Pam Bondi. We should put her under oath to testify in front of judiciary on the House side.
About Epstein?
About Epstein, absolutely.
What do you want to know?
Well, first of all, she said, oh, you know, I've got the files on my desk. Then the next thing you know, she said, well, wait a minute, there are no files. Which one is it? When were you lying? And why are you lying? What is the cover up? We know that your boss indicated that he was going to release the files. What is the holdup on releasing the files? And how are you going to go about determining what is relevant, right? What is, I forgot the exact term that he used, but that's basically what he said, right? Like, what is going to be your process? But ultimately, I want to know not just about specifically the Epstein files, but how she is running this DOJ, because I don't have any confidence in the way that she is running this DOJ.
Because you're intimating that somebody else is running it, or that she is a puppet, or what?
I believe that she's okay with violating the law. I
What
believe
way?
that she's in all ways. When we talk about the firings, I have questions about the firings that she has done to so many of those people that work for the DOJ. Are you firing people in retaliation for them actually doing things that they should be doing?
So, Congresswoman, I have to ask you, I'm sure you perhaps have heard by now that President Trump had a lot to say about your colleague, Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, but also yourself as well. Listen to what he said.
AOC, look, I think she's very nice, but she's very low IQ. And we really don't need low IQ. Between her and Crockett, we're going to give them both an IQ test to see who comes out best. Now, I took my test. I took a real test at Walter Reed Medical Center, and I aced it. I got every one of all those questions right. Now it's time for them to take a test.
What is your reaction to what he is saying?
It is absolutely ridiculous that I live rent-free in his mind in a time in which the American people are suffering. It's already been reported on as it relates to the inflation. We know that the job numbers were bad. We know that this big, ugly bill is going to directly harm so many people, not just the 17 million.
Wait. Did she just say the job numbers are bad? Oh, you mean the 14,000 jobs that Joe Biden got a month before he left the Oval Office? I mean, 14,000 jobs. This guy has the highest ratings right now for jobs, stock market, everything. Inflation is literally zero. Like, why are you just lying? Why would you just lie?
That are going to lose their health care, but everyone else whose health care premiums are going to go up because $1 trillion is being taken out of the health care infrastructure. There's a lot of things he could be working on, but for some reason, he is constantly focused on me. And personally, I've never met the man. I have no interest.
Exactly. You've never met him. You've never met him. This is the president of the United States talking about you live rent-free in his mind. Okay.
Going to the White House and meeting him or
That
talking
might surprise people that you've never met.
I
given how often you're
have
referenced.
never met him, but for whatever reason, I live rent-free. And honestly, the biggest concern that I have is that every time he does something, he has minions that see it as a dog whistle. And then it only increases the attacks on myself as well as any other colleague. but he absolutely consistently buys into this idea or continues to put it out there that women of color somehow are low IQ. Let me be clear. I have a lot more education than he does. This is just what it is, degree-wise. I have earned my degrees. My daddy didn't have to make a phone call to get me into anything because...
Bro. When people start talking and they talk about my daddy didn't have to call, because why didn't your daddy work hard enough? Okay? When people try to attack Trump and they say he's a trust fund baby, the reason he's where he is right now is because of his parents. Blame your parents for not having money, for not being successful. Stop trying to blame Trump for being a rich kid. He's a rich kid. Okay, so what? Isn't that what you want for your kids? Don't you want to have money so your children can be called rich kids? Isn't that what you want? Why are you trying to make this man feel bad for the fact that his parents did what they had to do to become rich and sent their kids to the best schools and gave their son the family business? Isn't that what we all want? To be able to pass something tangible down to our kids and grandkids? Why should it be, well, my daddy didn't call? Your dad should have called. Your daddy should have called, baby.
Because that wasn't a possibility, okay? So we can stop playing games as if I am somehow lesser than.
No, nobody is saying you're lesser than. Just go to Walter Reed and take the IQ test. You ain't. Come on. You are a congresswoman. You are not lesser than, okay? You are a congresswoman, Jasmine. You are. You are a congresswoman. Look at you doing good. You're doing great, baby. All you have to do is go to Walter Reed and take the IQ test. You ain't got to worry about nothing.
Has somehow hoodwinked enough people to become president of the United States, mostly because they thought he was a good businessman. But that is just because he's a Nepo baby. I promise you, if I was a Nepo baby and maybe a man, that I probably could too be president rather quickly, even though...
No. Well, okay. Please ask Hillary and Kamala Harris. Tell you that much. Ask Hillary and Kamala Harris. Talking about president that much. I don't think so.
I am unqualified. But he needs to focus on doing what he swore an oath to do, which was to take care of the people in this country. And right now, I have not seen any policy that is going to help the people writ large in this country.
Oh, for real? So no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, school choice, closed borders, secured borders, great foreign policy. That's not going to help the people. Inflation all the way down, way lower than what it used to be for the past 4 years when Joe Biden was president. Stock market all the way up. And of course, Bitcoin. Nobody talks about Bitcoins because people are like, you know what? Bitcoin. But Bitcoin is at an all-time high. I'm going to just, put that right there. I'm going to put that right there. All right.
We have a brand new CNN poll which shows 60% disapproval with the president's big tax and spending law. Polling shows the public and even some of the president's most ardent supporters are angry about the Jeffrey Epstein case. So surely this means that Democrats are surging in their efforts in the midterm elections. CNN senior data analyst Harry Etten is here. And Harry, A, don't call me Shirley. B, so compare this race to the last time we saw big Democratic surge, which was what, like 2006 and 2018?
Don't worry, Leslie Nielsen. I won't call you Shirley. Look, the bottom line is this. Democrats are behind their 2006 and 2018 paces when it comes to the generic congressional ballot. What are we talking about here? All right, the Democrats versus the Republicans on the generic congressional ballot, the margins. Look at where we are now. Democrats are ahead, but by just 2 points. Look at where Democrats were already ahead by in 2017. They were behind by 7 points. How about 2005 on the generic congressional ballot? Ahead by 7 points, ahead by 7 points. And now they're only ahead by 2 points. Their lead is less than half of where it was in either 2017 or 2005. in July of those years, the year before the midterm election, yes, Donald Trump may be unpopular, but Democrats have not come anywhere close to sealing the deal at this particular point.
Yeah, wave looks very different.
Yes.
All right, this is the generic ballot test. This is when you test people in the generic question. Of course, the House races aren't generic. There are 435 of them. What happens when you go race by race?
What happens when you go race by race? Well, it's the same idea. Okay, House seat ratings with a GOP president like back in 2005 and, of course, 2017. More net pickup seat chances. Well, last time around, look at that. Democrats were ahead by 33 seats. How about in 2005? Democrats were ahead by 7 seats. What's going on right now? It's actually Republicans. Actually, Republicans with more net pickup chances at plus 12, according to the Cook Political Report, when you add in the likelies, the leans, and the toss-up races. So it's not just on the generic ballot where Democrats are behind their 2017 and 2005 pace. It's actually when it comes seat by seat, you see that, at least at this particular point, Republicans actually have more net pickup opportunities. This doesn't look anything like those wave elections back in 2006 or 2018.
If it doesn't look anything like those years, what does it look like?
Okay, so what does it look like? Well, let's take a look back at the generic congressional ballot. What was going on in Ipsos in October of 2024? Democrats were ahead.
Okay, see, we're not going to make this about being a man or being a woman or whatever. It's okay if she's smarter than Donald Trump. It's okay. She's a smart woman. Jasmine Crockett is a smart woman. She's a congresswoman, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, she's smart. Okay, she's smart. There's no argument about that. All right? I'm not here trying to bash Jasmine Crockett. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to be that person bashing another person. Now, I don't bash nobody. But the fact is, there's only one of those two people between Jasmine Crockett and Donald Trump. Let's forget about being a congresswoman and being the president of the United States. It's only one of those people that has their names on buildings across the world, not just in the United States, not just in New York, Chicago, Los Angeles. No. Okay? No. It's just one of them that has their names on buildings, okay? It's just one of them that has billions of dollars. It's just one of them that rejects and refuses to take their salary. Just one of them. And the name of that person is Donald J. Trump. He doesn't take his salary. I tell you that much. Jasmine, you better go on ahead and take the salary, girl. Take it on.
By 2 points. Look at where we are now. Democrats ahead by 2 points among registered voters. At this particular point, this election cycle looks a lot more like 2024 than it does than either 2018 or 2006. And so, of course, Republicans actually held onto the House back in 2024. Will it happen this time around? We'll just have to wait and see. But for anyone who's writing the Republican House's political obituaries, hold the phone. This is a reality check. Republicans are still very much in the game.
Area, and that'll be quite a reality check, I think, for a lot of Democratic voters.
Yeah.
Thank you very much
Thank you, my
for
friend.
that. Kate.
Joining us right now is Democratic strategist Chuck Rocha and Republican strategist Malik Abdul. Guys, thanks for being here. Chuck, why isn't it adding up? What are Dems still not getting right?
I think Democrats are finding their footing right now after they just got through fighting this big, beautiful, whatever you call this thing. When folks start feeling that, and you're starting to
It's fighting the big, beautiful bill. Y'all chill, relax. CNN
the
always
president's still talking
fiddle
about the Jeffrey Epstein
when
case. The Justice Department is busy trying to keep his.
I like the fact that CNN is peddling this situation, this Epstein file, because this just tells me that something is not adding up. Something is not adding up. If CNN is doubling down on the news, you know for a fact something is not adding up. And with that being said, I got to say something, okay? It takes brains. It takes brains, okay? It takes your mind. It takes brains to make money, okay? Because if it was easy to make money and amass wealth, everybody would be wealthy, okay? Everybody would be wealthy. And there are a lot of rich parents who have passed down wealth to their families, and the family just squandered it, and there's nothing to show for the wealth their parents passed down to the kids. But you could call Trump a trust fund baby. However, his father was never a billionaire. Donald Trump's father was never a billionaire. Donald Trump's father never built any buildings in Manhattan. All of his buildings were in Queens. Okay, so he was in the low leagues. He was playing in low leagues, ladies and gentlemen. In the lower leagues, that's where Donald Trump's father was playing. But Trump took the entire family business to the next level. So you got to give him his flowers, okay? You can argue this guy has filed for bankruptcy so many times. He's failed so many times, and it takes failure for you to be able to succeed. Just ask Elon Musk. Do you know how many of those spaceships, space rockets has blown out of the skies? He's failed so many times, but guess what? He's the wealthiest man financially in the world. So you have to fail multiple times, and you have to fail big. You have to fail big for you to be successful. So this is why I voted for Trump. You can't be voting for someone who hasn't failed and think everything is all rosy. You have to fail, okay? When you fail, you've thirsted failure. So you know how it feels like, and you don't want to ever fail anymore. And see what he's done for the United States. You can hate me, but it's the facts, okay?
His accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell, from successfully appealing her conviction on sex offenses involving minors. In a brief filed with the Supreme Court yesterday, the DOJ argued that her claim that Epstein's 2007 plea deal should have also covered her is both incorrect and unlikely to succeed in, quote, any appeals court. For more on her actual role up to this point, here's CNN's Randy Kay.
Maxwell was among Epstein's closest associates and helped him exploit girls who were as young as 14 years old.
Ghislaine Maxwell, a friend and former lover of Jeffrey Epstein's. She dated the accused sex trafficker in the 1990s, and the two remained close. Federal investigators accused Maxwell of serving as Epstein's madam, recruiting young girls for Epstein to abuse, and taking part in the abuse herself.
She pretended to be a woman they could trust. All the while, she was setting them up to be sexually abused by Epstein, and in some cases, by Maxwell herself.
Long before that, Maxwell had a privileged life in the English countryside where she grew up. She's the daughter of Czech-born newspaper tycoon Robert Maxwell, who died in 1991 after falling off his luxury yacht near the Canary Islands. Multiple people say Maxwell introduced Epstein to affluent social circles. Maxwell's own exclusive circle included then-future President Donald Trump, seen together here in this photo from 2000. Alongside him, Melania, who he was dating at the time, and Jeffrey Epstein. That's Maxwell in the background of this photograph of Prince Andrew, with Virginia Roberts, who later became Virginia Giuffre. She had alleged she was trafficked by Epstein with the help of Maxwell and forced to have sex with Prince Andrew when she was 17. The prince emphatically denied all of it and settled Giuffre's lawsuit against him for an undisclosed amount. Giuffre died earlier this year by suicide.
Breaking news just into CNN. Longtime Jeffrey Epstein confidant and friend Ghislaine Maxwell has been arrested.
In July of 2020, the year after Epstein took his life in jail, Maxwell was arrested in New Hampshire. She was charged with 6 federal counts, including 1 count of sex trafficking children. She pleaded not guilty, yet at her 2021 trial, 4 women alleged that Epstein sexually abused them and that Maxwell not only helped facilitate, but also participated in some of the abuse between 1994 and 2004. The women were under 18 at the time. Maxwell was found guilty of 5 of the 6 charges against her, including the most serious charge of sex trafficking a girl named Carolyn when she said she was just 14 years old. Carolyn had told the court she participated in sexualized massages with Epstein and recruited other young girls for him. Carolyn recalled how Maxwell groped her naked body, telling her she had a great body for Epstein and his friends. In court, the defense tried to portray Maxwell as a scapegoat.
Clever and cunning to the end, Jeffrey Epstein left Ghislaine Maxwell holding the whole bag.
Maxwell was sentenced to 20 years in federal prison, but appealed her sex trafficking conviction. For now, Maxwell will continue serving time here in Florida. She's behind bars at FCI Tallahassee, a low-security federal correctional institution with a detention center. Her scheduled release date, July 17, 2037. Randy Kay, CNN, Palm Beach County, Florida.
Well, for more on all this, how all this is being viewed inside the Department of Justice and the FBI, I'm joined by CNN senior law enforcement analyst and former FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe. What do you make of the Justice Department's argument to the Supreme Court for why they shouldn't take up Maxwell's appeal? Because at the core of Maxwell's petition, she's arguing that the government's non-prosecution agreement with Epstein as part of his 2007 plea deal also applies to her.
Sure, Anderson. So the government's position is it relies on a bit of a technicality here. The actual language from the non-pros agreement signed in 2008 by Jeffrey Epstein basically says if Epstein successfully fulfills all the terms and conditions of the agreement, the United States, now note, not specifically, doesn't say just the Southern District of Florida or the entirety of the United States, also agrees that it will not institute any criminal charges against any potential co-conspirators of Epstein, including but not limited to 4 of Epstein's assistants. So she is claiming that she comes within the protection of that clause. The Department of Justice saying, no, we had an internal policy at the time that said if a specific district gives you a non-pros agreement, it applies only in that district, which means the Southern District that came through in 2019 or 2020 indicting Epstein and Maxwell was not bound by this exclusive agreement.
The situation between Bongino and Pam Bondi, have you ever seen anything like it, and is that tenable?
No, absolutely not tenable. I've never seen anything like this. The idea that a deputy director of the FBI would confront the attorney general in the White House in front of other people and they'd get involved in some sort of a shouting match, making accusations about each other. I can't even imagine that ever happening. And if it did happen, I'm shocked that the attorney general hasn't already removed him from his position. It's a level of disrespect and disarray among the leadership of those 2 agencies that's really just a terrible example for the workforce.
It sounds like there's a lot more files that could be released if the government wanted to. Do you think that's likely to happen?
I think it's unlikely to happen. I think there's probably a lot of information in there that they really cannot release because it's protected by grand jury secrecy rules or maybe Privacy Act concerns, or maybe it's confidential witness testimony that witnesses requested protection from. So there are probably a lot of legitimate reasons why some of this information they can't release, not the least of which is that just releasing the names of people who happen to be in Jeffrey Epstein's phone book without any indication that they were involved in some sort of criminal activity would be pretty defamatory and destructive to those people's reputation. So there's a lot of legitimate limits on what they can release. And at this point, whatever they put out is never going to satisfy the conspiracy crowd.
Andrew McCabe, thanks very much.
It's not that hard, and we will do so in a little while, to find recent tape of the now FBI director, the now deputy FBI director, the now attorney general that he put in place, promising that when they get into office, they will find out the truth about Jeffrey Epstein. And now he is using the power that he hopes he still has to say nothing to see here, that it's a hoax, that it's all the Democrats. He has been successful in trying to do that in the past and say, don't look here, look over here to members of his base. But so far, he has not been successful on this issue. Kristen?
Yeah, Dan, I mean, you took the words right out of my mouth. Just because President Trump himself wasn't the biggest proponent or perpetuator of these Epstein conspiracy theories, he did put 3 of the most vocal people who had said that they wanted to release this list into top jobs within his administration, of course, being Attorney General Pam Bondi, FBI Deputy Director Dan Bongino, and FBI Director Kash Patel. Now you see him completely backing away from this and also really doing it with a slap in the face to some of his most ardent supporters, people who have been waiting for the release of this list. I just want to read you what he posted this morning, because this is what really set it off. You can see how much angrier he's getting by the minute over this Epstein coverage. He said, "My past supporters have bought into this, quote, bullshit hit hook, line, and sinker. They haven't learned their lesson and probably never will, even after being conned by the lunatic left for 8 long years. Let these weaklings continue forward and do the Democrats' work. Don't even think about talking of our incredible and unprecedented success, because I don't want their support anymore. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Okay, a couple of things to note here. This isn't just some fringe part of his base. There is a huge part of his base that believes that there are Epstein files that need to be released. We saw that when Charlie Kirk held his seminar over the weekend in Florida, and there were thousands upon thousands of people there cheering to release the files, cheering for Dan Bongino. You are seeing a real break here in the MAGA movement. Now, the question is, as you said, do they fall in line eventually? And we just simply don't know the answer to that right now. But I just want to read you a couple of the things he said in that meeting, because some of these are just so deeply insulting to the people who put him in office. He said at one point that foolish Republicans have fallen into the net of this Democratic, as he called it, Epstein hoax. He said at one point, I have lost a lot of faith in certain people who he said had pushed the Epstein, quote, hoax. This is what he's calling it. He said Republicans got duped by Democrats. At one point, he said stupid Republicans and stupid people are focused on this.
So CNN is trying to make sure the Republican Party is divided. Good job. Great job, CNN. You're doing a terrific job. Keep it going.
He also noted that if there was anything credible left to release, that the Attorney General should release it, and he kind of documents, and he praised Pam Bondi's handling of all of this. But if you listen to those words there, and you go back and you watch the tape of who exactly it was who was helping propel this messaging around Epstein, those are the people who got him elected, Dana. Those are the people who were out there every day on their podcasts, on various different shows, reaching out to parts of the country that were usually untapped for voters. Yep. Those are those people. And they reached those people, and they got them out to the polls, and they had an unprecedented win with certain voting blocks. And now you hear President Trump saying that these are stupid people who were duped, and that is clearly not going to sit well, despite where this ends, because obviously we can't, again, predict where this goes. But that is not the message that these people who helped him get elected want to hear.
He's telling off.
So Democrats are saying that some of this information would never be released because of confidentiality. However, the same Democrats are saying, well, release the list. Okay. What do you want exactly? All right. What do you want? As long as it's Trump, no matter what he does, he could never do anything good to these folks. Never.
President Trump today angrily
situation.
denounced the support of anyone in his ranks who cares about the Jeffrey Epstein case,
aka
a significant number of
Don't
people.
forget. This is the same Jake Tapper that said everything was so great for Joe Biden. This guy was sharp as nails. This guy was literally walking into the Amazon rainforest, falling upstairs, couldn't make a sentence. And this Jake Tapper right here said everything was going on well. Now this same Jake Tapper is about to tell us his opinion. Here we go.
In his base, who, by the way, elected Trump after he pledged to release the Epstein files, after his surrogate Elon Musk told Tucker Carlson that billionaires were backing Kamala Harris because they were terrified Trump would release the Epstein list. Now, this latest kerfuffle started this morning with Trump's post on Truth Social, where he continued to falsely assert that the Epstein files are some sort of Democratic ploy. He wrote, quote, "Their new scam is what we will forever call the Jeffrey Epstein hoax, and my past supporters have bought into this bullshit, hook, line, and sinker. They haven't learned their lesson and probably never will. Let these weaklings continue forward and do the Democrats' work. Don't even think about talking of our incredible and unprecedented success because I don't want their support anymore," unquote. This same energy continued in the Oval Office this afternoon, where the president said this.
They're wasting their time with a guy who obviously had some very serious problems, who died 3-4 years ago. I'd rather talk about the success we have with.
And look, this is why I can never take anybody serious in this chat. Okay, I could never take anybody serious in this chat. Y'all talking about you supported PDF file. Look, you had Joe Biden on live television sniffing. Yeah, we know what he was sniffing. Okay, sniffing kids. Nobody said anything. Now, oh, you supported PDF file. No, I support one of the greatest, if not the greatest, but at least one of the greatest businessmen America's ever produced, and probably one of the greatest president ever to sit in the Oval Office.
Economy, the best we've ever had.
It's, of course, not a waste of time to care about the fact that dozens, if not hundreds, of survivors of rape, assault, trafficking, and more have been denied justice in the Epstein case from the jump. Aside from Epstein's own vile crimes, Epstein allegedly helped other powerful people in his orbit get away with heinous actions, including sex abuse, sex trafficking, in some cases the sexual abuse of minors. Here's just one portion of a victim impact statement surrounding the trial for Epstein associate Ghislaine Maxwell, who was sentenced to 20 years in prison for conspiring with Jeffrey Epstein to sexually abuse minors. One victim, who went by the pseudonym Kate, wrote to the
Man, shout out to the GOAT, man. Shout out to the GOAT. Dr. Luke, thank you for the super chat. The GOAT, Dr. Luke says, Genesis, are we really going to forget? Trump exposed USAID and brought back hundreds of billions of foreign dollars because why? CNN propaganda. Okay? This is a man fighting for the United States. Nope, they don't want it because he's bringing the money back to the United States. And everyday American, every normal, ordinary Americans now have a chance. They don't want it. The elites don't want it. No, they don't. No, they don't. They don't.
judge. Quote, I witnessed Maxwell's relentless and insatiable drive to meet the sexual needs of Epstein at any cost to the vulnerable girls and women upon whom she preyed.
Guess what? The same folks that are telling you, release the Epstein file, we want it now. Those are the same folks that allows children to say they want to be transgender. The same folks, okay? The same folks that are telling you, release this file, are the same folks that are telling you it's okay for men to play in women's sports. The same folks, okay? Look, think about it. The same folks are telling you, release the file. And then they turn around and say, it's okay for little Betty to, transition into John. The same folks, okay? Protect the kids. Please protect the kids, okay?
And fed to Epstein and other powerful men, the many acts that were perpetrated on me by Epstein, including rape, strangulation, and sexual assault, were never consensual and would have never occurred had it not been for the cunning and premeditated role of Ghislaine Maxwell played. Kate went on to write that the consequences of what Maxwell did have been far-reaching in her life. And this has been, let's just say it, this has been a huge about face for Trump. He's the dog who caught the bus. On a podcast just last fall, he promised he would release the Epstein files.
But a lot of big people went to that island. But fortunately, I was not one of them. Yeah, I'd be inclined to do the Epstein. I'd have no problem with it.
Back in 2019, in Trump's first term, he retweeted a baseless conspiracy theory suggesting that Epstein's death was tied to Bill and Hillary Clinton. The Epstein case is sadly not a hoax, as the president now claims. So what's going on here? Let's go to CNN's Kristen Holmes at the White House. Kristen, Trump has gone from saying everyone should move on from Epstein to saying he doesn't even want the support of people who care about this. That's a lot of people. We should note that in the not-so-recent past, those who cared about this case have included his son, Don Jr., his Vice President, J.D. Vance, his Attorney General, Pam Bondi, FBI Director Kash Patel, and on and on. What's the thinking here?
Jake, I'm not really sure there is thinking behind this. A lot of this seems to be unforced errors by President Trump. I've talked to a number of people around him who do believe that they are understanding where the base stands, but it still seems unclear that President Trump realizes what a big deal this is to so many of his supporters. And just to give some clarity here, it's not just the people who voted for them. It's also the big personalities on the right and some really who had never voted before, now part of the MAGA movement, who drew in their supporters, people who have podcasts, YouTube shows, to get them to the polls to vote for Donald Trump in order to release the Epstein files. And part of this, what I'm hearing from these supporters, is they don't really understand why exactly he's made this about face. Here's what he said in the Oval Office today.
It's all been a big hoax. It's perpetrated by the Democrats, and some stupid Republicans and foolish Republicans fall into the net, and so they try and do the Democrats' work.
A couple of other things he said, that he has lost faith in certain people because of their belief in these so-called Epstein files, that the Republicans have been duped. Again, as you noted, some of the people who've been placed in the highest roles in his administration, I guess, are some of these same people who were allegedly duped by this quote-unquote Epstein hoax, as President Trump has said. Now, our colleague DJ Judd just caught up with President Trump as he was leaving an event and asked about whether or not he would appoint a special counsel or consider appointing a special counsel. He said he has nothing to do with it. And let's be clear, if someone was going to appoint a special counsel, it would, of course, have to go through the Attorney General's office. But as we have reported time and time again since Donald Trump took office, the Justice Department is operating the least independently that it has in modern history. So, of course, President Trump would have everything to do with a decision about a special counsel here, Jake.
All right, Kristen Holmes, thanks so much. Let's discuss this with two former Trump White House officials. Mike Dubke, former Trump White House communications director in the first term. Jim Schultz, former Trump White House lawyer. Jim, you've worked with Trump on a very personal level. Explain to us the mindset here and what you would advise him as his lawyer to say right now.
So in terms of what folks are thinking here, and you know, not to get to the crux of this, I think we need to be more concerned, less concerned about MAGA, more concerned about the victims associated with these cases.
I agree.
Right? When you saw people walking around with the binders outside of that, I thought I handled human trafficking cases on behalf of victims on a pro bono basis. I'm thinking, what are the victims thinking at this moment with people walking outside the White House, reporters with these binders purportedly containing information? They don't know what's in those binders. They don't know what's going to come out. And purportedly containing information, the trauma, we have to think about the trauma that those folks are going through, those women are going through, who have been abused, who have been purportedly trafficked, and you know what their reaction is to that issue. And I think we're losing all of that. The news media is losing it. The White House is losing it. The Attorney General lost it when they paraded around with those binders. And I think MAGA is losing sight of that too. And the Democrats in Congress are doing the same thing. They're politicizing something that's traumatic for folks. And this needs to be governed by and through the court system. And judges need to help make these determinations by and through the Department of Justice if it's something that's going to be released.
I totally agree with you, and that's why we interviewed the attorney for some of the victims yesterday, and it's why I already mentioned them. Mike Dubke, let me ask you, notwithstanding the point that Jim just made, this is now a political crisis for the president of some sort, at least with his base. Laura Loomer, who is a conspiracy theorist and somebody that I'd rather not even mention, but she has the ear of the president. I mean, she suggested some firings in the National Security Council, and he followed through. She told Politico that she worries that his handling of the Epstein case could consume his presidency. She said, quote, "Obviously, this is not a complete hoax, given the fact that Ghislaine Maxwell is serving 20 years in prison in Florida for her crimes and activities with Jeffrey Epstein, who we know is a convicted sexual predator." Loomer told Politico, "That's all true. This is why I said, and I'll reiterate it again, the best thing the president can do is appoint a special counsel to handle the Epstein files investigation." Again, that she sounds reasonable there. She's not a reasonable person, but still.
Well,
that
she's also a leader within this movement.
That's exactly.
So what she says on this topic matters.
Yeah.
And to Jim's point, this is a political story now, like it or not. The courts are almost secondary to what is happening. I frankly am surprised that, well, I'm not surprised that the president doubled down or even tripled down on this, because one of the superpowers of Donald J. Trump is that he runs into fire and survives almost every time. In this instance, though, this is
he lit this fire.
Well, he didn't necessarily light this fire, but he did stoke it.
Yeah.
And as did his supporters. But they stoked it for a really good reason, because a lot of what he won on, one of the reasons that his base loves him so, is because he points to powerful individuals that have been lying to the American people. That whole story, including now sex, is wrapped up in the Epstein case. So I am surprised that he's trying to be dismissive of this at this point, but I think he's playing to his strength, which is running into this. I don't think it will be successful.
Yeah.
At some point, we're going to have, you are going to continue to talk about it, as will others. The Democrats will not let this go, and frankly, a good chunk of his supporters will not let this go. And this is going to affect the midterm elections, and this is now a purely political story.
Of course, it's now a purely political story. But anyway, we're going to listen to
Trump suggesting that the
a lawyer
FBI
right
should
here.
look into the Epstein case, but not necessarily because of Epstein's actions,
former
but because he
casino
says it's a
executive.
scam pushed by Democrats.
But they ought to look into the Jeffrey Epstein hoax too, because that's another hoax that's frankly put out by the pushing the Republicans and put out by the Democrats.
Just to be specific on timing, Epstein was investigated and arrested during Trump's first term. Now, Trump and Epstein, of course, were once friends. Trump's talked about that in the same circles decades ago. This photograph goes all the way back to 1997 in Mar-a-Lago, so it's a long time ago. And Trump hasn't been accused of any wrongdoing in the Epstein case. Out front now is Jack O'Donnell, the former president and chief operating officer of the Trump Plaza Hotel and Casino. Jack, just as all this conversation comes up, we've talked to you many times over the years, you and I, but you worked with Trump in an important period, 1987 to 1990. And I know that's, we talk about a lot of this friendship going back that long. You heard the name Jeffrey Epstein a lot during the time you worked with Trump. Can you tell us about their friendship?
Oh, sure, Aaron. First off, it's laughable that it wasn't a good friendship, if not his best friend during those days. He frequently came down to Atlantic City, the two of them, to attend special events. I heard reference in several conversations, and in one conversation where I had to specifically talk to him about Epstein and his presence in the casino. So it was, it was, in my mind, it was his best friend, from really the time I was there for 4 years. His name was, not constant, but it came up quite a bit.
And you're saying they would, from what you would call, come down to the casino together. Trump has called Epstein a terrific guy, a lot of fun to be with. Now, that was a New York Magazine interview all the way back in 2002, predating any of these any knowledge of Epstein's nefarious actions. More recently, Trump has downplayed his relationship with Epstein. Back in 2019, he said this, and this is right after Jack Epstein was taken into custody.
Right. Of course, the legend, the OG, the GOAT. Shout out to Dr. Luke, the GOAT. He says, the swamp is hot and the little mosquitoes are looking desperate for blood. The GOAT, ladies and gentlemen. It says, good morning. Jets show no mercy. I got to go. Genesis, shout out to the GOAT, Dr. Luke. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you for being around. Thank you so much, man. Have a wonderful day. Shout out to your family. All right, Dr. Luke, have a wonderful time. All right, with that being said, everybody else, enjoy the show. Jet, MVP Jet, get him, Jet.
I knew him like everybody in Palm Beach knew him. People in Palm Beach knew him. He was a fixture in Palm Beach. I was not a fan of his. That I can tell you. I was not a fan of his.
That doesn't really fit with what you're saying.
No, Aaron, it doesn't. And one incident that I think kind of, proves their closeness and how much they hung out together One time, a Monday morning, I came in and the commission was waiting. The inspectors were waiting at my office. And Donald and Jeffrey had come into the casino in the wee hours of Sunday morning, 1:30 in the morning. Two buddies. They had three women with them, and the commission was waiting for me because they had determined that the women that they brought down were underage to be on the casino. And when I asked them how they knew that, by the way, one of them was the number 3 ranked tennis player in the world. Okay. And this guy happened to be a tennis fan. And he said, Jack, I know she's 19 years old. Okay. So, and to get on a helicopter with a friend and 3 other people and fly down to Atlantic City, I mean, you can connect those dots. They were pretty
at 1:30 in the morning. And just to be clear, the story, when you say underage for the casino, underage for the casino would be 21, right? So not necessarily legally underage girls, right? Not in that case.
No, not in the sense of a minor, so to speak, that's been described with Epstein. They were underage to be in the casino, and they knew for fact that one of them was 19 years old. Nobody carded them, by the way, because either the commission staff or my staff, because they were intimidated to do so. And that's why the commission was actually going to fine me for Donald's discretion. Now, one of the things that they made me do is they made me call him. And I had to, believe it or not, read him the riot act about this action because they gave him a break. Back in those days, and I think even today, the fines are substantial. They can even suspend your license for letting minors in the casino. And I had to call them and say, look, they're giving you a break this time. But if this happens again, the fine is going to be substantial and it's going to be on your head. And oh, by the way, it's not going to look good, you and this guy Epstein coming down here with these young women.
What did he say?
Oh, well, he was shocked that they let him off the hook, first off. He was flabbergasted. He said, I can't believe they're they're not throwing the book at me. Nobody gives me a break. And that really was his reaction. And I did tell him in that conversation, I don't think you should be hanging out with this guy,
Man, bro.
And you certainly shouldn't be doing that in Atlantic City.
All right, Jack O'Donnell, thank you very much. And for all of this and sharing your recollections here. I appreciate it. It's always good to talk to you. So now you hear what Jack had to say.
Trump has gone through every single thing. Home was raided. He was going from the courtroom to the campaign grounds. This guy was almost unalived in Pennsylvania and in Florida. Yet he is the 47th president of the United States, and they're still going. They're still going after him. And this guy is making deals for the United States, renegotiating deals, and China is about to open up their market to the Americans. Yet everybody keeps going on Trump. This is, look, man. Just keep fighting for your goals. That's all I say. Keep fighting, never quit, because Trump is the definition of never quit. Keep on fighting.
I go to the veteran investigative journalist Barry Levine, who is the former executive editor of the National Enquirer. He was in that role for 17 years. The author of The Spider, Inside the Criminal Web of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, where he led an exhaustive investigation into Epstein. So, Barry, you hear what Jack had to say. The Jeffrey Epstein case better than almost anyone. So when you take a step back and you look at all this firestorm right now that is out there, what key information is still being withheld from the public?
Well, Aaron, certainly, I first want to say that calling this thing a hoax is such an insult to Jeffrey Epstein's victims. As the Justice Department told us, there's about 1,000 victims who had been abused. And for this to be called a hoax is just horrible. Say that to the woman who swam from his island to escape. Say that to the families of 3 of his victims who have passed on, 1 from suicide, 2 from accidental overdoses. So, I'm absolutely appalled at as how Trump is handling this situation. But there is still so much that we can learn from these files. And I think that, as the speaker said, let's see transparency here, because not only can...
Okay, thank you. All right. James Comey's daughter has been
Talk about this
fired.
being a Democratic hoax doesn't seem to hold a lot of water tonight, even with his own supporters.
Well, what seems to be, look, that Truth Social post that he did this morning was extremely confusing, and it's very clear what, he is trying to suggest, backfill this essentially, that anybody who raises questions about this now that it was some kind of a setup by Democrats or by Obama, even though Jeffrey Epstein, or Joe Biden, even though Jeffrey Epstein died in jail when Donald Trump was president last time. I mean, there's a reason that you are seeing people like Mike Flynn say this just doesn't make sense. It simply doesn't. You are correct that, a decade ago, President Trump was more than happy to raise questions of guilt by association for the Clintons. This was something that his advisors talked about, that his allies talked about. Has he talked about Jeffrey Epstein as much in the interregnum period between his 2 presidencies as some of his top advisors have? No, but he has populated his administration with people who really made names talking about this. And to now say it doesn't matter, you are seeing an emboldened Congress to some extent calling him out for saying these things.
I wonder what you make of that, because one thing he has made clear is he wants people to stop talking about this. He wants this to stop being a story. And you're seeing the right-wing influencers that he's calling, or like...
No, actually, I want people to keep talking about it. Yes, keep on talking about it. Don't stop talking about it. That's what I want. I want people to keep talking about it. Maybe informations would come out. Or if it doesn't come out during the Trump administration, whoever is going to be the next commander-in-chief would have to do something about it, because if it keeps on going, but I doubt it's going to keep going on for the next 3 years. I doubt it.
Some of his most ardent members in Congress, most ardent supporters, say they still want to hear more. I wonder what you make of that, when typically they fall in line with what he says.
I think there's a couple of things at play, Caitlin. I mean, I think one is, he is a lame duck. I mean, part of why he has tried to hold on to his party so tightly since he took office was to get things done. He saw what happened in term 1 when members of his own party were rising against him on various fronts, and so he wanted to pass, the one big beautiful bill, and there were other pieces, there were other things he wanted to accomplish, and generally he has scared members of his party into not speaking out if they were upset with it, or people supported what he was doing. Now you're seeing things like Tom Tillis, who you just played a quote from North Carolina. He's not running again, and so he clearly feels emboldened to speak out. Marjorie Taylor Greene has been speaking out more and more. You may see others. I think time will tell, but it is definitely a notable shift since he came back.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to Trump trying to move off the story, I want you to listen to what he said in the Oval Office, where he himself was basically trying to say it's time to move on from this.
I call it the Epstein hoax. It takes a lot of time and effort. Instead of talking about the great achievements we've had, instead of talking about the things we've achieved, we've had tremendous achievement. The scandal you should be talking about is the auto pen, the things that they should be talking about. The big, beautiful bill is one of the greatest pieces of legislation ever in this country. All these things that happened that wouldn't have happened if you had good leadership. And that's what you should be talking about.
Maggie, as you know, the president is typically pretty good at changing the narrative when he wants to, or putting something else out there. Does your reporting show, are you surprised that he's struggling to change it in a way that he typically has not?
I think this one, Caitlin, a couple of things. Number one, Jeffrey Epstein has been a mainstream story for a long time. You know, there were a lot of people who covered issues related to Jeffrey Epstein and the crimes that he committed. He was in prison. His death was very well covered when President Trump was in office the first time. So number one, it's not just a story that takes place, you know, on the internet. This takes place across the board. Number two, you are seeing his allies, advisors, supporters who have gone out there and talked about this and who I think believed that they had his support on this, getting questioned by their own base. And so this is sort of a story of a question of who do you trust? And that is very clear in what he's saying. It's hard to tell people. I mean, again, I said this earlier about his Truth Social post. It strains credibility to suggest that this was, you know, I call this a hoax and therefore it's a hoax. People are clearly feeling as if for their own reasons, whether it is because of the people who listen to their podcasts or because of their voters in the midterms, that they need to make clear that they don't agree with them.
Lastly, we also learned tonight that James Comey's daughter, Maureen Comey, who is a prosecutor in Manhattan, successfully had worked on the cases of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. She's been fired abruptly. Our sense is that she wasn't given a specific reason. Do you believe that that's related to what's happening right now? What's your sense of that?
It's hard to ignore the fact that she was involved in some of the cases involving Jeffrey Epstein. You know, time will tell whether this was the reason why, whether folks suggest that she had something to do with that. As you say, she apparently was not given a specific reason, and Article 2 was cited as, you know, under the powers of Article 2 and the executive branch. She was dismissed. You know, the president has obviously no love for James Comey, but this would, you know, potentially feed into a line of what he is trying to allege as some broader effort that's separate from him.
Yeah. Maggie Haberman, excellent reporting as always. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks, Caitlin.
Up next, my other inside sources, Politico's White House Bureau Chief Dasha Burns and CNN's senior correspondent Donnie O'Sullivan. And it's great to have you both here to just get your perspective on this. Donnie, I kind of just would like for you to walk us through this, because I think one question that some people have is, given Trump himself has peddled conspiracy theories before, what you make of the surprise he has at how attached to this the people who support him the most are, and are not willing to let it go just because he says, stop talking about this.
Yeah, Caitlin, it's absolutely shocking for them. It really is shocking. And I was trying to think of this today in terms of, you know, in MAGA media, there are, you know, many conspiracy theories and objects of fascination come and go. But every day, pretty much, for years, you'll always hear people on those channels, on those platforms, talk about two things. One is the false claim that the 2020 election was stolen. They are still talking and obsessing about that. And secondly is the Epstein files and everything to do with that. So Trump coming out and saying, just forget about this, I think is so much of a shock that it would be a quick.
All right, thank you. All right, James Comey.
Why fire her now?
Can we talk about Maureen Comey for a second? Maureen Comey was for 10 years an extremely successful, dedicated, and ethical assistant U.S. attorney in the Southern District of New York. She was a high-ranking person in that office. She became the head of the Public Integrity Unit. She supervised the case against Robert Menendez, the corrupt senator. She tried Ghislaine Maxwell. She tried P. Diddy. The idea that she got fired is a disgrace to the Justice Department. And Jay Clayton, supposedly the U.S. attorney in the Southern District of New York, ought to resign himself in disgrace because he allowed this to go on. This is an outrage that this woman got fired.
Let me add to what you're saying. According to a source, a person familiar with the situation said that having a Comey is untenable in this administration, given her father, James Comey, is, quote, constantly going after the administration. Last I checked, James Comey has been writing fiction novels, mystery novels. I'm not sure going after the administration.
Wait. Oh, really? Isn't the same guy who just mysteriously found seashells on the beach that spelled out 8647. Oh, he's writing fictions. CNN. CNN never disappoints. They never disappoint, ladies and gentlemen. CNN never disappoints.
You checked was what, like a week ago or 10 days ago, when it was announced that they were going to be investigating James Comey and Brennan as part of what I think is a distraction strategy. And today or yesterday, Trump blamed Comey for having put together this, what he's calling the Epstein hoax, despite the fact that it precedes Comey.
It's also, I mean, I don't know. Seems like really bad timing to fire the person who prosecuted Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. Just seems like poor timing. I don't know.
I'm looking at you, brother.
You're welcome. Look, I don't know. I mean, she's no more entitled to this job than anybody else is, and if she's so great, the next president can hire her, and maybe they will, and he can hire and fire whoever he wants. I don't know how good at her job. I mean, did she do a good job on P. Diddy? I don't know. I mean, does it seem like that went well? Looked like it didn't go very well to me. So, I don't know.
I mean, the idea that because she didn't get a complete conviction, she got somewhat of a conviction in P. Diddy.
Barely. The dude was grinning at the end.
Well,
that's not a good case.
But you don't fire prosecutors.
Resume, I went after P. Diddy, and that's not what you'd put on your resume. It was a disaster.
You're not trying to say that that's the reason.
But beyond
Comey's daughter got
she's
fired.
Amazing at this job when the biggest case she just had a moment ago sucked.
But beyond all that, under Article 2, he can hire and fire
anyone he wants.
Anyone he wants.
There are civil service rules for lawyers.
I understand.
And well, I mean, you can laugh, but there are. I know the Trump administration doesn't really feel it's bound by lawyers.
Obama and Clinton and Biden never fired anyone.
An assistant U.S. attorney?
Never in history. I'm asking you. You're the expert in this category. You're saying they never did.
Never.
George W. Bush fired a bunch of U.S. attorneys. Remember?
U.S. attorneys, assistant U.S. attorneys.
Oh yeah. They all fire people.
Of course they fire U.S. attorneys.
So then why are we acting like this is a
They are political appointees. Every president is entitled to fire every political appointee. Maureen Comey was a line prosecutor, and I was one. The tradition has always been that you stay from one administration to the next.
I'll say that. If your dad is doing what her dad did, and then you can't get a P. Diddy conviction, I think you ought to get fired.
Wait, hold on.
Wait,
but let me hold on. We're gonna.
Pathetic was bringing
Ben,
Flynn into the situation room to entrap him.
Let me ask you about that for a second, because I mean, you said it, so let's explore it. Her dad is doing what exactly?
Her dad is a guy that constantly was going after Donald Trump with things that we now know are lies and entrapping people.
So how many years ago was that?
It's his whole life story, his biggest accomplishment.
No. How many years ago was it?
Well,
that James Comey was in a position
a position
of power.
Position of power until he got fired by Donald Trump.
Okay,
almost
a decade ago. Okay, so we're talking 8 years now. So there's that. The second thing is you're suggesting that because a jury decided that they were not going to completely prosecute P. Diddy, she is all of a sudden a terrible attorney. Is that the suggestion?
She's not good.
Oh, wait. So she convicted Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, Robert Menendez. She convicted P. Diddy, just not on every single charge, and she is not good.
I don't know. How hard is that?
All I'm saying is
I don't give credit for people doing an average job. When a guy's got gold bars in his jackets in his house, you should be able to get that conviction. I didn't even go to law school, and I think I could get that conviction. Hey, there's gold bars in the guy's jackets in his closet.
Ben, I don't know what kind of lawyer she is. I'm not an expert.
It's not like a
Ben does, but I'm just saying that like an honest, like let's be honest, right? Like for just 1 second, let's be honest. Are we really going to say that because she attempted to prosecute someone who, let's be honest, probably should have been prosecuted and did not win a complete conviction, that's the reason you're going to say she's bad, or is that just a political talking point?
No, you've spoken enough. This is all quite silly.
She did ask me a question. Go ahead.
But I'm here. I'm here. It's our show. So look, just for people at home who actually want to know what's happening, this woman had a great reputation, sterling. Her dad I don't like very much. Most people don't get fired because of their parents. And I think that it is very, very odd and very, very bad that a great line attorney who has done a good job got fired for reasons that nobody here can explain. And so I don't believe that she got fired because of P. Diddy. He hasn't mentioned P. Diddy. Even Trump hasn't talked about P. Diddy. Here's what's going on here. This is a president that's in trouble. He has lied to his base. He told them that he was going to do something he's afraid to do. Why is Trump afraid to release these documents? That is the question. I have been defending Trump, actually saying it's inconceivable that anything that's in these documents is going to hurt Trump because Biden would have released them. But he's been acting so...
Do you still think that's true?
Well, now he's acting so weird. Trump is acting so bizarre.
So has that changed your view?
Dan, you actually think Merrick Garland, who moved with the speed
Yes.
of a wounded sloth,
Yes.
and was definitely...
That's what I thought. Maybe I'm hopelessly
would have
naive.
released this?
Here's what I'm going to say.
Listen.
The guy who took forever and a day to bring a case against
Here's what I'm
Trump?
going to say. Those of us who were making that claim have been undermined this week by Donald Trump acting so bizarrely. Why is he on Truth Social crying, saying, I don't even want you to be my friend anymore because you're being... This is unbecoming. This is strange. And it's starting to make people who don't want to believe the worst to believe the worst. And we should be talking about that, not about
Okay,
P.
can I make one argument, perhaps? We've seen this many times with Trump. Sometimes he acts a lot guiltier than he is.
Could be.
You know what I'm talking about?
Acting weird. Stop being weird.
Sometimes,
release the stuff and move on.
He sometimes acts extremely as if he has something to hide. When maybe just coming up with the truth, just confronting the thing is not as bad. He tends to do that. I'm not sure. I think that it's hard at this point for us to say just because Trump is acting this way, it means that this other thing is always happen.
He has said
it's not a defense of Trump. It's just a pattern of behavior that we've observed over the years.
He has said out loud, sure, any credible information, I'd be fine releasing that. They haven't done anything yet. It feels like we're in this period between an instruction and an action. I don't know when the action is going to come, but he has said out loud, release credible information. I assume they're going to do what they can do. It's just, it's opaque to me what that
Pam
is.
Bondi said she is not releasing any further information.
She got a new instruction from he said it out loud. I mean, he's the boss, is he not?
The question I wanted to ask. So last week, I would have said there was no way in hell that Pam Bondi was going anywhere. But this is beginning to last a long time, and it feels like somebody's head needs to roll. Do you guys feel there's any chance at all that Pam Bondi is on thinner ice today than she was a week ago?
No. Look, it's extremely, it's extremely disruptive. This would be true no matter who the president is, to go through getting rid of a cabinet secretary of any kind, especially the attorney general. It is not worth it. And it's probably not warranted here, but they are on a roll. He's had a great 6 months. Democrats haven't really laid a glove on him. He's done virtually everything he wants to do. I think part of his frustration is that Democrats who didn't care about this until 5 minutes ago are using it and using the words of his supporters against him. And it's highly frustrating for a guy who thinks he's on a roll and now it's going to
When Signalgate wouldn't go away, he got rid of Walt.
Man, somebody give this guy a job, man. Somebody give Scott Jennings a higher job. Come on, man.
Somewhat got rid of him.
Non-confirmed position, but he's now going
I mean, Waltz was a fall guy.
Gave him a bone.
Waltz was a fall guy for Signalgate.
She's not going to get fired.
She's not going to get Waltz.
She's not going to get
the head that just rolled is Comey's head. I mean, the Comey's daughter. That's the head that just rolled.
That's a distraction.
Exactly, it's a distraction. So I'm saying that's.
Man, please. Man, please. Man, please. This man is doing a great job. So because of this Epstein's files, you want to end the whole administration?
Trump spent days trying to get his party and the country to move past the Jeffrey Epstein files. He's pleaded with his supporters. He's bargained with them.
They're going
he's called
hard.
them privately on the phone. He's publicly rebuked them. So far to no avail. And the Justice Department's abrupt decision last night to fire Maureen Comey, one of the lead prosecutors in the Epstein case, whose last name certainly rings a bell, it doesn't seem to be doing the trick either. She got no explanation for her removal, but the timing is odd, to say the least. Last night, in an interview on a right-wing network, the president repeated his, frankly, ludicrous claim. that the Epstein story was manufactured by Democrats as a way to get him, and that perhaps federal investigators would look at it from that angle.
I think they could look at all of it. It's all the same scam. They could look at this Jeffrey Epstein hoax also, because that's the same stuff. That's all put out by Democrats.
Yeah.
And, some of the naive Republicans fall right into line like they always do. They just don't have the sustainability. They don't have they don't have that stick to it like glue. The Democrats, they have bad policy. They have bad candidates. They have bad everything, but they stick together. I think it's in the case of Epstein, they've already looked at it, and they are looking at it. And I think all they have to do is put out anything credible. But, that was run by the Biden administration for 4 years. I can imagine what they put into files.
Just to emphasize, there's no evidence of about what the president just said about
Man, this is CNN, bro. This is CNN, bro.
Let's talk a lot more about
there's no evidence.
This and learn more from a terrific group of reporters we have here at the table. CNN's David Chalian, Sabrina Rodriguez of The Washington Post, Zolan Kano-Youngs of The New York Times, and CNN's Paula Reed. David Chalian, I'm going to start with you. It's really remarkable to continue day after day to see President Trump try to squash this. And the more he tries, the worse it gets with his very own base.
Yes, and when we say base, this isn't even with necessarily his base of voters, but this very powerful, vocal, influential group of MAGA communicators, right? That throughout Donald Trump's entire time leading this movement have taken their marching orders from him. I mean, so what notes he wants them to play, they sort of play, and we're seeing this moment where that is not the case right now, and that is coupled with Donald Trump, who is usually a master at sort of framing a narrative and setting the course, and he can't shake this story because his plea to shake it is in this cycle. Usually he's very savvy in understanding that, and now he himself is perpetuating it.
And you can see him trying real time to layer other conspiracies on top of the one that his people, more his people than he, put out there about Jeffrey Epstein. And the dog's not hunting so far. I want to talk about Maureen Comey, because this is chilling, potentially. Talk about what we know about the reason she was fired. Again, she is a career prosecutor. She worked on the Epstein case. She also worked on the Diddy case.
Yep, that's right.
What are you hearing?
So at least one source familiar suggests the Justice Department believed that it was untenable to have her continue to work there since her father is constantly attacking the administration. All right, we've seen that before. We've seen them fire people because they believe they're not on board ideologically, or they've been working on investigations related to President Trump. But the timing here is incredibly suspicious because James Comey has been railing against President Trump since he was fired in the last Trump administration. This is nothing new, and this comes at a time that the administration is under enormous pressure to release additional files in the Epstein investigation. So the question this raises is this somehow retaliation for something that happened behind the scenes with Epstein, or are you laying the groundwork to try to pin this on her father and or her, the Comey family? We've already seen the president laying the groundwork for this in Truth Social posts, as you noted, just completely divorced from reality, suggesting that this was all created by Hillary Clinton, James Comey, former President Obama, when in fact it's been the president's supporters who have, in some cases, raised legitimate questions.
By the way, wasn't he convicted during the Trump administration the last time?
When you say he was convicted, Jeffrey Epstein, that investigation was ongoing. He, of course, died in prison under the Trump administration. And then Bill Barr was one overseeing the Bureau of Prisons.
That's right. He was prosecuted, not convicted, of course. He never was. You work for the New York Times, and your colleagues just got a little bit more reporting on this Maureen Comey situation.
That's right. We're all still looking for details here on the exact reasoning of her firing. What my colleagues are reporting now, though, is that Maureen Comey has sent an email to her colleagues and really expressing a warning of what this event amounted to. She said in this email, if a career prosecutor can be fired without reason, fear may seep into the of those who remain. She went on to say, do not let that happen. She would later call fear, quote, the tool of a tyrant wielded to suppress independent thought. I mean, that seems like a much broader warning about the dynamics right now of our government. We've talked often about how much retribution is at the center of this administration's policies as well. And here, that singling out that word of fear here, I find that to be interesting and something to track here. Again, we're going to be looking for the exact reasoning of this. We know that in her firing, Article 2 was mentioned, and that obviously goes straight to the powers of the president as well, which is something to keep an eye on as well.
We're also seeing, Democrats try and capitalize on this moment. That has been really interesting. We've seen them in the last 6 months of the Trump administration try, whether it was with his arguments and his public fights with Elon Musk, whether it was with the attack on Iran, them trying to sort of capitalize. But here is a moment that just yesterday, talking to Democratic strategists, they were saying, wait, we have an opportunity here because this is organically online everywhere. So this is a chance for us to really push on this point and really touch on this sensitive point to see these huge influencers not in the president's corner on this.
Yeah, and we're going to, I think that is so fascinating, Sabrina. We're going to talk a little bit more about the Democrats' decision to jump in as opposed to staying on the sidelines. But just kind of, again, back to the question and the discussion and the reality of how much this story has penetrated into pop culture and to just culture. And it's the thing that people are talking about. If there were still water coolers, that this is what people would be talking about
there
around.
Are still water coolers
Are
somewhere.
there?
I think
Water
so.
filters. Yeah. Okay, it's just filtered
Similar
water.
but modern. Yeah.
Let's listen to what Shane Gillis, who was a comedian, said at the ESPYs last night.
Actually, there was supposed to be an Epstein joke here, but as it got deleted. Must have probably deleted itself, right? Probably never existed, actually. Let's move on as a country and ignore that.
And by the way, Shane Gillis is not known as a lefty liberal.
No, but good comedy, right?
Yeah, of
I
course.
understand how to play in the headlines. I think one of the most interesting aspects to me is that one of the hallmarks of this Trump administration has been from the very beginning that he knows his way around the office now, right? He's far more comfortable in the job than he was in the first term. He's far more comfortable and knowledgeable about what levers of power to pull, and he's staffed in a way that was going to be committed to him being comfortable with that. And this is the first time in these 6 months, I think, that we see him not comfortable. He's off his game. So I think that's why we see him go into the well of it's Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton and Jim Comey. Like he is off his footing here.
And I'll add another dynamic that maybe an old trick that has worked for him in the past, which is the art of distraction. Mm-hmm. Just for some examples, the ex-FBI director, the father of the woman we're talking about, and ex-CIA director Brennan are suddenly under investigation by the Trump Justice Department. That's according to CNN reporting. Right when this was really blowing up over the weekend, the president put a long post out about revoking Rosie O'Donnell's citizenship. I mean, that's really a deep cut, as the kids say, going back, 10 years. And then he's talking about whether he would fire Jerome Powell or not. Now, that's actually something that is a real policy issue, but getting it out there is certainly something that people can talk about without talking about Epstein.
All right. Caroline Leavitt is live right now at the White House. The press secretary. She is live. We're going to check that out right now.
Yesterday afternoon, the president is in the East Room of the White House mourning with parents who have lost their children because of fentanyl.
All right, so everybody, double tap your screen, sub up, and be nice in the comment section, okay? Be nice. You are American first before you are a Democrat or a Republican.
Good afternoon, everyone. I apologize for our tardiness. I was with the president. Let me begin with a few scheduling announcements today. President Trump will travel to Scotland, where he will visit both Turnberry and Aberdeen from July 25th to July 29th. During the visit, President Trump will meet again with Prime Minister Starmer to refine the great trade deal that was brokered between the United States and the United Kingdom. And the President and the First Lady will travel to the United Kingdom for an official state visit from September 17th to September 19th later this fall. This will mark a truly unprecedented second state visit for President Trump, and he is honored and looking forward to meeting with His Majesty the King at Windsor Castle. There has been a wave of positive economic news over the past week, which I would like to highlight today. Joe Biden's inflation crisis has been defeated. Prices paid to American businesses for goods and services were flat in June, which is lower than all 50 forecasters in the Bloomberg survey predicted. And core inflation, which is the best measure of inflation, came in lower than expected again in the month of June. Since President Trump took office, core inflation has tracked at just 2.1% overall and has come in below or at economists' expectations every single month. Wages are growing at a strong pace and prices are falling for everyday Americans. We also saw prices for new and used vehicles and airfares drop last month. In addition, prices for gas, fuel oil, energy commodities, hotels, airfare, public transportation, and fresh vegetables are all down over last year. As we said all along, trust in President Trump. The American dream is back, and everyday families are already reaping the benefits of this incredible economic turnaround in just 6 months. President Trump has ended the era of economic surrender and implemented powerful tariffs to stand up for our workers and businesses and rebalance America's trading agreements. Despite all of the doom casting from the so-called experts claiming that these tariffs would be the end of the world as we know it, the opposite has occurred. Tariffs are not inflationary, as President Trump has said all along. In reality, tariffs are a source of massive revenue. We're seeing trillions of dollars in private investment pour into our country right now because the companies around this world want to make their products right here with American labor and not have to pay any tariffs at all. Customs and tariff revenue has already totaled more than $113 billion since President Trump entered office, helping to lead a budget surplus in June for the first time in nearly a decade. We are truly entering a golden age as a result of these pro-growth and America First trade policies. On another matter, yesterday in the East Room, the president was proud to sign the Halt All Lethal Trafficking of Fentanyl Act into law, surrounded by angel families to help finally end the devastating fentanyl crisis that has ravaged millions of Americans. Under the Halt Fentanyl Act, anyone who possesses, imports, distributes, or manufactures any illicit fentanyl-related substances will be subject to criminal prosecution in the same manner as any other Schedule I controlled substance. This legislation will close the loopholes that criminals use to skirt around the law and make it easier for law enforcement to prosecute vicious traffickers who peddle poison in our communities. President Trump has always made tackling the drug crisis a top priority, and this important bipartisan legislation further follows through on that commitment. The complete and total success at our southern border that many in the media in this room continue to ignore is another example of the president keeping his word to families who have lost loved ones due to fentanyl, and it's another win for the American people. Customs and Border Protection just released the final operationalized stats for the month of June, and I must highlight some of these incredible numbers. There were only 6,072 Southwest apprehensions in June, 15% lower than the previous record that this president set in the month of March. To put that in perspective, the Biden administration routinely saw the same number of encounters in a single day, and on many days, that number was more than 10,000 apprehensions at the Southwest border. There were also 0 illegal aliens released along the Southwest border for the second consecutive month in a row. President Trump promised to end the illegal alien invasion, and he has delivered on that promise to the American people in record time. With the border sealed, deportations are ramping up. This past weekend, our brave ICE agents were arresting violent criminal illegal aliens all across the country. ICE Atlanta arrested an illegal alien from Mexico, convicted of attempted rape of a child in North Carolina. ICE Baltimore arrested an illegal alien from Guatemala who was previously convicted for sexual abuse of a minor in Maryland. ICE Houston arrested a criminal illegal alien from Mexico whose previous conviction includes aggravated sexual assault of a child in Texas. ICE Salt Lake City arrested a 32-year-old illegal criminal alien from Mexico who was previously convicted for child abuse and injury. ICE Baltimore arrested a criminal illegal alien from El Salvador convicted in Maryland for possession of child pornography. And ICE San Antonio arrested a criminal illegal alien from Mexico convicted of aggravated sexual assault in Texas. The men and women of ICE are heroes. They are putting their lives on the line every day to get the worst of the worst, these types of criminals, out of our communities and out of our country. And the president continues to strongly have the backs of all ICE agents who are doing their jobs to keep all of us, including everyone in this room, safe. The facility, sorry, 1 second. In other news, following President Trump's bold executive actions protecting American children from irreversible chemical and surgical mutilation, the largest provider of these barbaric practices will now be closing its doors. The facility in Los Angeles, California, is just the latest facility downsizing or eliminating their irreversible and harmful services that feed into the lie that you can somehow change a child's sex. The Biden administration peddled dangerous policies that defied medical science in favor of radical transgender ideology. But President Trump has put an end to that to ensure America's children's innocence is protected and our children can lead healthy and productive lives. Finally, last night, Senate Republicans passed President Trump's $9 billion rescissions package. This will help restore fiscal sanity in our country by rescinding billions in wasteful foreign aid and finally ending taxpayer funding for PBS and NPR, two media organizations that have ridiculously used federal dollars to push a partisan left-wing agenda for many years. The House should pass this rescissions package immediately and send it to the president's desk for signature. On another note, I know that many in the media have been speculating about bruising on the president's hand and also swelling in the president's legs. So in the effort of transparency, the president wanted me to share a note from his physician with all of you today. In recent weeks, President Trump noted mild swelling in his lower legs. In keeping with routine medical care and out of an abundance of caution, this concern was thoroughly evaluated by the White House medical unit. The president underwent a comprehensive examination, including diagnostic vascular studies. Bilateral lower extremity venous Doppler ultrasounds were performed and revealed chronic venous insufficiency, a benign and common condition, particularly in individuals over the age of 70. Importantly, there was no evidence of deep vein thrombosis or arterial disease. Laboratory testing included a complete blood count, comprehensive metabolic panel, coagulation profile, D-dimer, B-type natriuretic peptide, and cardiac biomarkers. All results were within normal limits. An echocardiogram was also performed and confirmed normal cardiac structure and function. No signs of heart failure, renal impairment, or systemic illness were identified. Additionally, recent photos of the president have shown minor bruising on the back of his hand. This is consistent with minor soft tissue irritation from frequent handshaking and the use of aspirin, which is taken as part of a standard cardiovascular prevention regimen. This is a well-known and benign side effect of aspirin therapy. And the president remains in excellent health, which I think all of you witness on a daily basis here. So the president wanted me to share that note with all of you. I'm happy to take further questions on it. We will provide the memorandum from the president's physician to all of you, as we always do. And we'll get to questions. Here in our new media seat, we have Frank Corva, who's the White House correspondent for Bitcoin Magazine, which comes at a timely week with crypto legislation moving across Capitol Hill. So why don't you kick us off, Frank, and thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it, Ms. Levitt.
Sure.
I was curious to hear if the president was in favor of removing any and all language around central bank digital currencies from the Genius Act, maybe as a means to get it across the line and get it on his desk. And then my second question was about something the president spoke about in this room. He talked about a $600 de minimis tax exemption for Bitcoin and other crypto spending. So I was just wondering if you could comment on those.
Sure. Well, the president did signal his support for a de minimis exemption for crypto, and the administration continues to be in support of that. we are definitely receptive to it to make crypto payments easier and more efficient for those who seek to use crypto as simple as buying a cup of coffee. Of course, right now that cannot happen, but with the de minimis exemption, perhaps it could in the future, and we will continue to explore legislative solutions to accomplish that. As for the central bank digital currency and the Genius Act, which you noted has passed through Congress and will be sent to the president's desk. I believe the House is voting on it. If they haven't, they should be passing it. We know we have the votes, and we expect it to get to the president's desk, and we are planning a signing ceremony tomorrow afternoon. All of you will get more details on that. This piece of legislation is going to make America the crypto capital of the world, and that's what the president promised. As for a central bank digital currency, the president opposes that. He made that promise to the American people on the campaign, and while it's not in this specific piece of legislation, he did sign a January executive order banning a central bank digital currency. The administration supports Congress's efforts to codify that executive order into law, and I believe there will be future pieces of legislation in regards to crypto that will be moving through Capitol Hill. The president looks forward to signing them, and he looks forward to the signing ceremony this afternoon. So thank you for being with us today. Sure. Jackie.
Thank you, Caroline. There's been a lot of discussion about the Epstein files and the president's comments yesterday calling it a hoax. Can you clarify which part of the Epstein hoax is the hoax part?
The president is referring to the fact that Democrats have now seized on this as if they ever wanted transparency when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein, which is an asinine suggestion for any Democrat to make. The Democrats had control of this building, the White House, for 4 years, and they didn't do a dang thing when it came to transparency in regards to Jeffrey Epstein and his heinous crimes. It was this president who directed the Department of Justice and the Attorney General to do an exhaustive review of all files related to Jeffrey Epstein, which they did. The Attorney General and the FBI, led by Pam Bondi, Dan Bongino, Kash Patel, these are great patriots, some of the most trusted voices in the Republican Party movement. It's part of the reason the president appointed them to these high law enforcement positions, and they spent many months going through all of the files related to Jeffrey Epstein, and they concluded what they found in that memo, which they drafted and they released. And so the president has been transparent. He has followed through on his promises to the American people, but he doesn't like to see Democrats and the mainstream media covering this like it's the biggest story that the American people care about. The president has been working so hard this week. On Tuesday, he went to Pennsylvania, where he secured $90 billion in investments for the Commonwealth, for the people of that state. After that, he came back to the Oval Office at 8 p.m. He went in there to whip votes to get the Genius Act signed into law. And because of his efforts, that bill is now going to be signed and passed. The following day, yesterday, he meets with a foreign leader, the King of Bahrain, to secure more investments into this country. And then yesterday afternoon, the president is in the East Room of the White House mourning with parents who have lost their children because of fentanyl, signing a bipartisan piece of legislation. And not a single cable network in this country took that event live and covered that event like they should. Those are the issues the president cares about. What could be more important to the American people than helping families who have lost their children? Those are the issues this president is going to remain focused on.
I understand he wants to move on from this story, but you do have some prominent figures, including the Senate Majority Leader, the House Speaker, voicing support for the files to come out. Representative Massey collecting signatures that would force a discharge petition for a vote on the floor for this. It doesn't seem to be going away. What is stopping the administration from just redacting any sensitive information, grand jury information, and putting out what is appropriate so that the American people can decide and then let this story die?
Well, in terms of redactions or grand jury seals, those are questions for the Department of Justice. Those are also questions for the judges who have that information under a seal. And that would have to be requested, and a judge would have to approve it. That's out of the president's control. He has said, in agreement with some of the leaders on Capitol Hill, that if the Attorney General and the Department of Justice come across any other credible evidence, they should provide that to the American people. The president has said that, and he agrees with them on that.
Why did you fire Maureen Comey?
The Department of Justice did, and I would defer you to them. Dasha.
Has the White House been directly in touch with some of the MAGA influencers that are still not satisfied with the administration's handling? And has the message to them been similar to what the president has said, which is sort of either let this go or we don't need your support?
Well, look, the president and this team are always in contact with the president's supporters, with voices of many kinds on both sides of the aisle. I think that's part of the reason this president is a great president, because he's willing to listen and hear other people's perspectives. But ultimately, he has led this country, not just over the past 6 months to historic success, but also through his first 4 years as president. And as the leader and the creator of the MAGA movement, he has led through these perilous times for our country based on instinct and in the best interest of the country. And as I always say, the American people should trust in President Trump.
John, Fed Chair.
Go ahead, John.
Thanks a lot, Caroline. The president on Monday announced that if there's not compliance with Russia within 50 days, there would be increased tariffs. Can you explain how that works, first of all? What happens if Russia doesn't end its war with Ukraine in 50 days?
Well, in 50 days, as the president clearly laid out, if there is not a ceasefire agreement or a peace deal within that time frame, if Russia refuses to legitimately agree to a ceasefire, then they will face very steep tariffs, and they will also face secondary sanctions. So countries that are purchasing oil from Russia will be sanctioned as well, and of course that will do deep damage to Russia's economy. And I would just add that the president wants this war to end with a diplomatic solution. He's been pushing for it. This administration has spent many hours and a lot of time trying to solve this war very far away, but the president wants to stop the killing, and he wants to save lives.
Reagan,
go ahead.
What you were saying, Caroline.
Reagan, go ahead.
I have 2 questions for you. It's just about, if I may, just about the tariffs, the first part. I get the secondary tariffs, but there was only $3 billion worth of trade between the U.S. and Russia in 2024. It's expected to be far less this particular year. On April the 2nd, both you and the Treasury Secretary said it's not necessary to apply any tariffs on Russia. You said that because of the lack of trade, it precludes, that was the word you used, any need for tariffs. Why now, and why do you think that that would make them cave and come to some sort of peace agreement as it relates to Ukraine?
$3 billion is still a lot of money, John, and it's not just tariffs, it's the secondary sanctions as well that will be implemented in 50 days. Reagan.
Caroline. I have 2 questions for you.
Sure.
First on Congress. Congresswoman Salazar introduced legislation that would give some illegal immigrants in the country a path to citizenship. 10 Republicans signed on to what she's calling the Dignity Act. I'm curious what the White House's position is on the legislation and if the president would veto this bill if it made it to its desk.
From my understanding, the White House nor the president has actually read through this legislation. We've been focused on, of course, the One Big Beautiful Bill, which passed, which is another historic accomplishment of this president in record time. The Genius Act this week, the rescissions package, that's been the focus of the White House. But the president has made it very clear he will not support amnesty for illegal aliens in any way.
I want to give you a chance to respond to the CEO of NPR. She's claiming that the cuts to their network will, quote, be a real risk to public safety of the country. Murkowski has argued that public broadcasting stations save lives. Could you respond to these concerns?
The NPR CEO said cutting NPR will be a risk to public safety. I am not sure how NPR helps the public safety of our country, but I do know that NPR, unfortunately, has become really just a propaganda voice for the left. Just a few examples for you. In 2020, NPR refused to cover the Hunter Biden laptop scandal in the run-up to the election. They said their assertions don't amount to much, writing they did not want to waste the listeners' and readers' time on stories that are just pure distractions. That does not sound like an unbiased opinion. That sounds like a partisan opinion to me. And this is a taxpayer-funded organization. In 2018, that same CEO that you're talking about called the president in the Oval Office, who nearly 80 million Americans elected, she called him racist, shared a photo of herself wearing a Biden for President campaign hat, serves on the board of a Soros-funded activist group. In 2020, PBS's White House correspondent at the time characterized President Trump's speech then at Mount Rushmore as a love letter to white resentment, promoting the myth of America. In 2017, PBS devoted an entire panel talking about what it means to be woke and white privilege. In 2023, PBS's Washington Week Roundtable covered up Joe Biden's clear mental divide. That's actually quite the clip. I would encourage all of you to look at it. These are not honest news organizations. These are partisan, left-wing outlets that are funded by the taxpayers. And this administration does not believe it's a good use of the taxpayers' time and money. Ed Lawrence.
Yeah, thanks, Carol.
I want to ask you about the Federal Reserve. So does the president believe that the slightly restrictive monetary policy stance right now, could that cause an economic slowdown? And if he does believe that, when?
What pause are you referring to?
No, could the stance of the monetary policy is slightly restrictive. Does the president believe that that stance, the slightly restrictive stance, could cause an economic slowdown in itself?
I haven't heard the president discuss that specifically, but what I do know in regards to the Federal Reserve is the president's been very transparent about his displeasure with both the policies and the management of the Fed, and he spoke about that to all of you pretty extensively in the Oval Office yesterday.
And last month, one more if I could. Last month, the Canadian Prime Minister said the president had agreed to a July 21st deadline to sort of work towards a trade agreement. That's 4 days from now. Could there be a trade agreement with Canada in 4 days?
Well, look, we'll see. The trade team continues to be very active in our conversations and discussions with Canada. The president himself has said, unfortunately, our neighbors to the north have been pretty difficult to deal with when it comes to matters on trade. But in trade, generally speaking, as you know, 25 countries have received letters thus far from the president directly with his big, beautiful signature on them, from Japan to Korea, South Africa, Kazakhstan, Malaysia, just a few countries, and Canada also received a letter for 35%. With that said, if countries want to have legitimate further discussions, the Trump administration and the president's trade team are willing to have further talks, but these letters these countries have been receiving are the deals. And as the president has said, those deals will be made. They are tailor-made to each and every country based on the United States' concerns and what's in the best interest of the American worker and the American people.
Caroline.
Charlie, go ahead.
Thank you, Caroline.
No, I called on Charlie, but Deanna, you can go ahead too. Go ahead.
The president said that he floated the idea of a special prosecutor in the Epstein case. Can you confirm that? And has he asked the Attorney General to do this, to appoint a special prosecutor to look it over?
Well, the idea was floated from someone in the media to the president. The president would not recommend a special prosecutor in the Epstein case. That's how he feels. And as for his discussions with the Attorney General, I'm not sure. Deanna.
Caroline, thank you so much. Do you know what the president's reaction was to Mike Johnson saying that he wants additional files released, the Epstein files? Was there a conversation with Mike Johnson about that following his comments?
I won't discuss the president's private conversations with the Speaker of the House, but as I answered to Jackie's question earlier, the president has said if the Attorney General and the Department of Justice and the FBI have any more credible evidence in regards to Jeffrey Epstein's crimes, they should put that forward. He has called on them to do that.
Sure.
Thank you, Caroline.
With
a few days.
I'll go to all of you, starting with the lady in the blue. Go ahead.
With a few days to the August 9th deadline, how are the negotiations with Europe going? There's some sticking points. What are they? Can we expect a delay, or should we expect a deal soon?
Well, I believe the deadline is August 1st. As for the European Union, they continue to be very eager in negotiating with our country for obvious reasons on ways to lower their tariff and their non-tariff barriers that we have long said harm our workers and our companies. So the president's trade team continue to be in talks with the European Union.
Would he accept, or would he put forth a postponement of the August 1st?
He's already said he will not.
Caroline,
Owen, go ahead.
Good afternoon, Caroline. In Gaza today, Holy Family Catholic Church was struck by an Israeli shell.
Yes.
3 people were killed, 10 wounded. What is the president's reaction to that church coming under fire?
It was not a positive reaction. He called Prime Minister Netanyahu this morning to address the strikes on that church in Gaza, and I understand the Prime Minister agreed to put out a statement. It was a mistake by the Israelis to hit that Catholic church. That's what the Prime Minister relayed to the President, and you should look at the Prime Minister's statement that will be coming out. Steve, go ahead.
Back to your letter that you read at the beginning.
Sure.
The President, you said mild swelling in his legs.
Yes, sir.
Is it causing him any discomfort? How are you treating it?
Nope. No discomfort from the president at all, and you probably all see that on a day-to-day basis. He's working around the clock. As for the treatments, I can defer to the president's physician, and we'll get you this letter. I think it will answer all your questions.
There are reports that a Chinese-born banker who works in Atlanta for Wells Fargo is being prevented from leaving China. Has the president, is he going to bring this up with President Xi? Are you aware of the case?
I'm not aware of the case, but I'm sure our National Security Council team is. Steve will get you some answers on that.
Iran,
Kristen.
Thank you, Caroline.
Two questions. So the first is that President Trump said that the Attorney General only gave him a brief overview of what was in these Epstein files. Does he have knowledge or an understanding of what is in the files related to Epstein that have not been released?
Not to my knowledge, and that's a question for the Attorney General, as I said, and the President has told the Attorney General if they have any more credible evidence, they should release it.
Is that evidence, would she have to run that by the President before she released it?
I don't think so. He said if she has any more credible evidence, she should release it.
You're on.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Go ahead, yes.
Great. Thank you, Caroline. Two questions. One, today.
And you can go ahead, Andrew. Don't worry.
Today, tens of thousands of folks are rallying nationwide to honor the legacy of Congressman John Lewis. Meanwhile, Republicans in Texas reportedly are working to redraw congressional maps at President Trump's urging. How is President Trump reconciling his call to action for Texas Republicans with the legacy of Representative John Lewis?
I'm not quite sure how the two things are related. I think the President would agree that John Lewis served our country for many, many years. It has nothing to do with the redistricting efforts that are currently underway by Texas Republicans to add seats to their legislature. They have the right to do that. The President spoke to the congressmen and women who serve the great state of Texas about it, but it's up to them and it's up to their legislature to get that approved.
And Caroline, just a second question.
Go
Does
ahead.
the President support the Justice Department's request for just 1 day in jail for the officer convicted in Breonna Taylor's killing? And what message does he believe that sends to her family and to other families seeking justice in cases of police violence?
I haven't talked to the President about that case. Go ahead.
Just the president, when the president met the interim president of Syria a couple of months ago, he described him as a young, tough, attractive guy. After the latest clashes in Syria over the last few days, does President Trump still support Syria's interim president?
The President still supports Syria's pathway to a peaceful and prosperous country, and you received an update directly from the Secretary of State on the ongoing situation between Syria and Israel. I spoke to him myself this morning to get an update, and as soon as the United States became involved in this conflict, we were able to de-escalate, de-conflict. That seems to be continuing. Syria agreed to draw back their troops that were in the area where that clash was ongoing, and we continue to be very actively monitoring the situation. The President wants to see Syria become a prosperous and stable country, and by the lifting of the sanctions on Syria, he's giving them a real chance to do that, and he wants to see that through. Andrew, go ahead.
So on Tuesday, the President told a very detailed story about his uncle, noted scientist John Trump, and Theodore Kaczynski, the late Unabomber. He said that Dr. Trump taught Ted Kaczynski. Ted Kaczynski was not identified as the Unabomber until 1996, 11 years after John Trump passed away. It would have been impossible for John Trump to have ever discussed the Unabomber with the president. So what was he talking about? And I have one follow-up.
Andrew, with so many issues going on in the world, I'm a little bit surprised you would ask such a question, although I'm not sometimes coming from you, I will say, but I'm willing to give you an answer. Nevertheless, the president's uncle did, in fact, teach at MIT. He was a very intelligent professor. The president's very proud of his family. In fact, the president has a letter from his uncle on the MIT letterhead that sits in the Oval Office dining room. Maybe we'll let you see it sometime.
And then
Elizabeth.
Caroline, one more on
Elizabeth,
will the
go
president consider pardoning Ghislaine Maxwell if the Epstein case is a hoax?
Okay, I'll start off with the president said last week he would not be getting involved in the New York City mayoral case. If that mayoral race, if that's still the case, given his history drawing a large crowd in New York City, what's his reason for staying out of it in that way?
Well, look, I think the president reserves the right to get involved in races or not get involved in races, and he's made the decision not to weigh in on the New York mayoral race, as you rightly pointed out, although he has gone as far to say he absolutely does not want to see Zemdami elected, who is a known communist who supports the abolishment of private property, the defunding of police. He has made very well-known anti-Semitic statements. It would be a disaster for New York and for this country, and I think it's quite telling that this individual, a known communist, has been spending time in Washington this week meeting with leaders on Capitol Hill. This is truly where the Democrat Party is headed. Clearly, they learned nothing from November 5th in the president's overwhelming victory. Mary, go ahead.
Thank you, Caroline. I want to backtrack to the hospitals that have stopped providing transgender surgeries and hormones for kids. On this front, does that have anything to do with the DOJ subpoenas last week? Should we expect any more hospitals to be shutting down their programs? And I wanted to also ask what you make of all these media reports, especially the AP, which I noticed, which portrays these children as losing something that's saving their lives.
Yes, I think the president spoke a lot about this issue, which is a political issue, but also really a cultural issue that impacts children and families. He talked about it a lot on the campaign, and I think he was quite surprised by the uptick we were seeing in the embracement by the Democrat Party when it comes to the chemical castration and mutilation of young innocent bodies. And so the president made it a very early priority to sign very strong executive orders to cut off the funding for any hospital or any medical facility in this country that provides such barbaric procedures. And as a result of that strong policy and the president's strong common sense position on this issue, we've had such an overwhelming response, which is great for children in Arizona. Phoenix Children's Hospital has stopped providing puberty blockers and hormone therapy to minors. In California, Stanford Medicine ended sex change surgeries for minors. Children's Hospital Los Angeles is closing its Center for Trans Youth Health and Development surgical program. In Illinois, Lurie Children's Hospital Chicago stopped sex change surgeries. Again, let's think about what we're talking about here. Sex change surgeries for minors. These are barbaric practices that no child, innocent child, should have to endure. And the president wants to protect the innocence of children, and I know the vast majority of Americans support him in that effort. This is a wildly popular and common sense endeavor this administration has taken, and we've seen many of these medical institutions have followed through with the president's executive orders, but we'll continue to take further action on this important issue. Garrett.
I too, if you'll indulge me.
Sure.
On the rescissions package, I wonder what the White House makes of this theory that it increases the odds of a shutdown. The theory is basically, why would any Democrat vote for a bipartisan spending deal with Republicans if Republicans can turn around and claw the money back the next day?
Look, $9 billion worth of crap that it was in our federal funding that is now being rescinded. This is a good thing for the American people and the American taxpayer, and I think our Office of Management and Budget Director was saying this process should be more bipartisan. Democrats, there was a time in this country where Democrats too cared about getting rid of waste, fraud, and abuse in our federal spending. I think every American agrees the government spends way too much money on things that don't matter. Some of those things include PBS and NPR, or for instance, the Democracy Fund, which was funded to the tune of $83 million through the Department of State, but they were giving hundreds of thousands of dollars for gender equality and empowerment hubs in Yemen, $3.9 million for strengthening information integrity, equality, and democracy for LGBTQI population of the Western Balkans. These are not good uses of the taxpayer funds, and Republicans are proud to lead that effort, and we wish more Democrats would join us in that.
I wanted to follow up on the Maureen Comey question just to clarify. Did the White House have any knowledge, or did the president sign off on her firing?
This was a decision that was made by the Department of Justice.
There was an agreement that was made between Immigration and Customs Enforcement and the Centers for Medicaid and Medicare Services regarding access to Medicaid information for 92 million Medicaid recipients around the country. That includes health information. So how does that not violate HIPAA violations and privacy concerns, for example, of American citizens?
I'm going to have to defer you to Immigration and Customs Enforcement on that. I'm unfamiliar with that agreement that they made.
Caroline,
Thanks, Caroline. Two questions. Russ Vought said today he's going to be looking into cost overruns in the Fed's renovation projects. Is there a deadline for him to come back with findings to the president?
I don't believe there's a deadline the president has set for Russ Vought, but I think, again, this is a good use of taxpayers' time to look into this project that is millions and millions of dollars over budget. It's for a big, beautiful mansion for the federal chairman, reserve chairman, and I understand that it costs much more than it did the beautiful palace that many of you joined us at when we went overseas. So it's completely unnecessary, it's overpriced, and I think it's a good thing the administration led by the president, is looking into it.
If there ever were to find wrongdoing or fraud, would the president reconsidering firing Jerome Powell?
Look, it's a hypothetical question. We'll see where it goes. The president spoke about how he feels on this matter yesterday.
Sure, thank
Go
you
ahead.
so much, Caroline. So we saw Ambassador Huckabee arrive to Prime Minister Netanyahu's trial to show his support. Does the president plan to impose any kind of sanctions against the Israel judicial system?
I don't have any update for you on that or any announcement on that front. I don't believe so.
Does the president believe that justice has been served in the Epstein case?
Look, the president believes that he directed the Department of Justice to do an exhaustive and thorough review, and they did that. And they all agreed, the FBI director, the deputy FBI director, the attorney general, on the memo that they drafted and they released.
Thank you, Caroline. Just a follow-up on Reagan's question. Representative Salazar's bill, it grants illegal aliens with legal status for 7-year increments. It also gives permanent path to residency for so-called dreamers. And, you know, President Trump and Labor Secretary Chavez, who previously co-sponsored a version of this bill when she was in the House, they've spoken about a work deal similar to the bill, I believe. What's the difference between a work deal and amnesty?
Look, as I told Reagan, the president, the White House have not reviewed this specific piece of legislation. It's just not where our focus has been. But the president, for one, has been very clear. He does not support amnesty. We'll go to, oh, look at some friends in the back. Brian, go ahead. You didn't show up early enough to get some good real estate up here.
I love it. Any update on the auto pen? I know that there was the DOJ and some others were looking into the thousands of documents that were signed off just before Joe Biden left office. Any update on the auto pen?
Yes. I'm not laughing at you. I'm just laughing at how far away you are, and you're going to need to get some microphones back there. On the auto pen investigation, yes. The White House counsel's office has launched their own investigation into former President Biden's usage of the auto pen. We have requested some documents from the National Archives, and again, as I've said many times from this podium, and the president has said as well, it's incredibly important that we get to the bottom of who really was at the tip of the spear in the decision-making process here in the White House, because former President Biden himself admitted to the New York Times, I understand he never gave interviews when he was here, but now all of a sudden he wants to give one, and he said that he did not actually review every single pardon that he signed on his way out the door. That's incredibly concerning, and I can tell you it's something this president would never tolerate. This is a president who is signing things all the time. Any document that has legal implications, this president's signature is on it because he's the one making the decisions. It does not appear that was the truth in the previous White House, and I know the American people want to receive answers on who was running the show, because the decisions that were made in this place really destroyed our country, and we deserve to get to the bottom of it. Mark, in the back.
Thanks. Some Christian groups are complaining that they are not able to get visas as quickly to travel to Israel, and it's been elevated to Ambassador Huckabee's station. Is the White House aware of that? Does it have any reaction to that? And is that part of the president's disappointment with Netanyahu and his government?
Look, I'm not aware of that, Mark, but I'm sure, again, our National Security Council is, and also the State Department. As you know, travel visas roll through Secretary Rubio's shop over there, whom we work very closely with, so we will check in on the matter. But I know overall this president and the administration do want to streamline the visa process to make it easier for both Americans who want to travel abroad and people abroad who want to come to our country the legal way. Sure. Go ahead. I was going to the gentleman above you, but go ahead, Libby, and then you can go.
Okay, two questions for you. The first is, during the Hill Nation Summit, Secretary Noem suggested there could be some changes to TSA's liquid limits. Is the president aware of that? Is that an idea that he's backing? And what would that timeline and the changes look like?
Sure. I would defer you to the Department of Homeland Security, but I did see Secretary Noem's comments, and I think it's great that on day one she asked TSA, what are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? How can we make air travel more efficient while maintaining utmost security for American passengers and travelers? And I know they announced no more shoes, or you don't need to take off your shoes anymore at the airport, which I think is welcome news to all of us who travel a lot. But further guidance or decisions, of course, that's in the Secretary of Homeland Security's overview, and I would defer to her.
And the other question for you is on Bondi and Burgum's trip today to Alcatraz. I'm curious what the funding is going to look like for that, and who the president does want to see incarcerated there if it were to become.
Sure. Well, this was an idea of the president. He spoke about it in May, and he directed his administration to review a reopening plan for Alcatraz if it is possible, which is why the Attorney General and the Secretary of Interior have traveled there today. They are touring the site, and if the Alcatraz prison is reopened, it would be under the purview of the Bureau of Prisons. And the Secretary of Interior also would play a big role in this as well. So they're there to review the site today, and I'm sure you'll hear more from them on it later. And just to follow up, Libby, on who the president wants to see housed in Alcatraz, the worst of the worst criminals in this country, both American criminals who convict heinous crimes, but also illegal alien criminals before deportation as well. Sure. Go ahead.
The State Department yesterday urged the Chinese Communist Party to cease its campaign to eradicate Falun Gong, a peaceful spiritual practice. With the anniversary of this brutal persecution approaching, does the White House have a message for the CCP on this?
Well, I will get you one, and we will get back to you. Sure. Go ahead. We'll take. Go ahead, and then go ahead. Sure. I've never called on you. Why don't you go ahead? In the red tie.
Me.
Dr. Harper behind.
Thank you.
Yes. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Me, thanks.
Yes.
Thank you, Caroline.
Yes, you. What's your name?
My name is Matias. Thank you.
What's your outlet?
I'm for Record TV, Brazil.
Great.
Brazil's President Lula recently said that President Trump was elected to govern the United States and not to act as the emperor of the world. And he also emphasized that Brazil is open to negotiation. I'd like to hear what you have to say about it, what the administration has to say about it, and specifically what areas are currently open to negotiation in the light of the 50% tariffs that were announced.
Sure. The president is certainly not trying to be the emperor of the world. He is a strong president for the United States of America, and he's also the leader of the free world. And we've seen a great shift across the entire globe because of the strong leadership of this president. In regards to Brazil, the president sent a letter to Brazil announcing their new tariff percentage. He also directed our USTR ambassador, Jamison Greer, to launch an investigation of Brazil under Section 301 of the Trade Act of 1974, designed to address unfair foreign practices that are affecting U.S. commerce. For years, we know Brazil's digital regulations and weak IP protections have undermined U.S. tech and innovative companies, and their tolerance of illegal deforestation and other environmental practices puts American producers, manufacturers, farmers, and ranchers who follow better environmental standards at a competitive disadvantage. So this president always acts in the best interest of the American people and the United States of America, and he will continue to do so. Thank you very much, everyone. We'll see you later. I appreciate the enthusiasm today.
There you have it from the youngest press secretary ever, Caroline Leavitt. She is a wife and a mother. I got to say those things because some people think if you are a woman and a wife, precisely, and a mom, it's hard to do hard things. Nope. You can be a super woman. You could do both at the same time. You could be happily married with your kids, starting a family or whatnot, or whatever you decide to do, and still take hard jobs, because this is hard. This job right here is hard. And with that being said, God is the greatest. God is the greatest. And of course, shout out to the 45th, now the 47th President of the United States. And shout out to everybody, every one of you guys in the comment section for, saying your opinions. I don't mind if it's leftist opinion or far right opinion, whatever it is, okay? Whatever it is, this is what we do right here on the Genesis Show. And with that being said, instead of looking for perfection, seek for consistency. Never give up on yourself. Never give up on your dreams. Never give up on God. Believe in yourself. Believe in your dreams. And believe in Almighty God. Don't forget, God bless you. God bless the United States. God is the greatest. Now, I got to give a shout out to the people that make this show a reality. First of all, God. And of course, our esteemed members, Dr. Luke, the GOAT. God bless you Thank you for being a member. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you. Shout out to Ellie. Shout out to Sandra. Shout out to Ingram. Shout out to Ringmaster. God bless you for being members. And of course, shout out to the people that make sure when people start going bunkers in the chat, they get what they deserve. Shout out to, I don't know what C. Shelley is. I don't know if she's here, but shout out to C. Shelley. Shout out to Jet, MVP Jet. God bless you, Jet. And of course, the Bomber Girl, Terry Vinings. God bless you. Zyros Garden, Zyros. God bless you, Zyros. I don't know if Enders is here. Enders, are you here? I mean, who knows? Who knows? We're Enders. With Enders, you just never know. Mr. Busky, the Bucket Master. I don't know if he's here as well, but we miss you, Mr. Busky. If you're here, shout out to you, Mr. Busky, or anybody who is connected to Mr. Busky. Let him know we miss him and we appreciate his presence over here. And with that being said, never quit on yourself. Do not throw in the towel. Stay connected, okay? Go outside. Enjoy your life. Breathe in the air. Eat what you like to eat, okay? Call your friends. Call your family. Or go outside and meet new people. Go to the park. Go to Starbucks. Oh, I don't know. Do something. Go outside, man. Go outside, man. Just go outside. Okay? Go outside. Shake hands. Introduce yourself. And just make new friends, okay? And don't think life is about MSDNC, CNN, and the rest of them, okay? Life is beautiful. Go outside and enjoy your life before it's too late. Go outside. You're strong right now. You got the strength to type on your phone. You got the strength to type on your keyboard and be going all the way. You also should have the strength to go outside and shake hands with people and introduce yourself and tell them what you do. And, just connect with people, man. Connect with people. You're not in the hospital. You're not in the hospital, okay? You are alive and you're healthy, so use it to your advantage, okay? Also, I gotta say shout out to the veterans, shout out to the military personnel. You guys protect the homeland. God bless you. Thank you for your service. I gotta say shout out to law enforcement. I gotta say shout out to Ice Baby. Ice Baby. Shout out to Ice. Also, man, shout out to everybody in the chat. Shout out to America. Thank you to America for being the greatest. And thank God for the grace that He has given to this land, because this land is just highly favored. I'll tell you that much. This land is highly favored. And with that being said, it is your boy Genesis, and this is the Genesis Show. We will be back sooner than you think. So turn on your notification bell and stay ready. Stay ready, y'all. All right. I'll be seeing you guys later. I got to go spend some quality time with my daughter. Okay, so fathers, spend quality time with your daughters or your sons, whatever it is. Spend time with your kids. We got gymnastics sometimes around 5:30 or 6. We're going to go do that. And we got tennis tomorrow. So, yeah, she's pretty busy. Yeah, she's 5 years old, but she's pretty busy. And she's smart and beautiful. And, yeah. She's a blessing, okay? She's a blessing to me. All right. It is your boy Genesis one more time, and I'm signing out. I love you guys, man. I love you guys so much. See you soon. This is the Genesis Show, and I am signing out.